Are you living your life to the fullest? What does living to the fullest mean to you? In our fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept away by the hustle, often forgetting to pause and ponder on what truly brings us joy and fulfillment. If you find yourself questioning whether you're truly making the most of your time here, know that you're not alone, and you're exactly where you need to be to initiate a profound transformation in your life. Imagine waking up each day with a sense of clarity and purpose, navigating life's inevitable highs and lows with serenity and resilience. This isn't a far-fetched dream, but a practical reality for those who embrace the teachings of Stoicism. This ancient philosophy offers more than just a strategy for enduring adversity. It teaches us to find contentment in simplicity, to focus on what we can control, and to cultivate a sense of peace that is unshaken by external circumstances. In this journey towards a more fulfilling life, you'll notice we often revisit certain Stoic principles. This repetition is by design, not accident. The power of repetition cannot be overstated. It's through this continuous engagement with Stoic teachings that these ideas transform from mere thoughts to second nature. Like the steady flow of water that smooths the roughest stones over time, the consistent application of Stoic wisdom gradually reshapes our perceptions, our reactions, and ultimately, our lives. If you're ready to break free from the cycle of merely existing and start leading a life filled with purpose and joy, you've come to the right place. We'll explore practical Stoic principles that empower you to build inner strength, deepen your self-awareness, and live a life that's not just busy, but genuinely meaningful. Whether your goal is to reduce stress, improve your relationships, or find greater happiness in everyday moments, the transformation starts within you. Let's take this step together, leveraging the power of Stoicism to not just change how you live, but also how you view the world around you. Did you know that there's a secret war in every day of your life? Our minds and hearts are the winners in this hidden battle between manipulation and authenticity. We see it in movies, read about it in books, and even have our phones with us at work, at home, and in our mouths. Imagine yourself handling this battlefield with the knowledge of the old Stoics, who knew how to safeguard the mind. They taught us to hold on to our inner fortress, our core of reason and virtue, and not only survive, but to grow in the middle of life's chaos. How can we use Stoic knowledge to spot these tricks and protect ourselves in today's world where manipulation can come from anywhere and hide behind many guises? Let's look into this together, so stay with me. We'll learn how to use old beliefs to protect our minds and live with meaning, as well as the modern tricks that put our Stoicism to the test. Building a life of authenticity, resilience, and real freedom is what this is all about, not just dodging problems. You're in the right place if you've ever felt played, pushed, or just plain confused by what other people did. Let's go on this trip of strength together, using the Stoics' ancient knowledge to help us. This will change how we deal with the world around us. Let's say you and your friend are close. Then a third person shows up, and all of a sudden your friend starts telling other people private things you said, or even worse, they start changing your words to make a story that makes you two enemies. When you're an adult, the emotional effects can be much worse than in school, so it's like being in a play again. You start to doubt your decisions, your friends, and even your view of reality. This is like playing a game where the rules change all the time and you're always behind. What's the real deal? Most of the time, you don't even know what's going on until you're full of questions and feel completely alone in a crowd. We learned from Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca how important it is to have inner peace and understand how we react to things that happen around us. A Stoic way to deal with triangulation would be to look at the situation without getting involved, see the manipulation for what it is, and refuse to let it get in the way of your inner peace. Realizing that you can change how you react, even if you can't change what other people do, is important. Stoic knowledge also tells us how important it is to talk to each other directly and try to be clear in our relationships. If you think someone is trying to trick you, be honest and open with them. Bringing things that are hidden into the light can often get rid of the shadows of manipulation. Remember that your best defenses against triangulation are your sense of self, your ability to question the story that is being told about you, and your resolve to keep relationships that are honest and open. You can't stop having a leak in your boat. You just need to know how to fix it quickly and keep going forward, following the stars of honesty and knowledge. Real life is full of times when you're stuck between what to do and what not to do. You feel stuck in a loop of always making the wrong choice, because every choice you make seems to lead to some kind of criticism or failure. Imagine being pushed to share your ideas and speak your mind, to bring your real self to the table, is a typical example. For some reason, when you finally get the courage to open up, you are either scolded or ignored. It's not clear, right? You're told to jump into the pool, but as soon as you do, you're told off for getting wet. People who want to control you like this method because it throws you off track. You start to doubt yourself, your choices, and even what you think. You can't be sure of what's going on because the rules seem to change whenever someone wants. The dichotomy of power is another important idea that Stoicism teaches us about. It's about knowing what we can control and what we can't. You are in charge of your deeds, your reactions, and your honesty. The things other people do, even when they try to catch you in a double bind, are not. If someone tells you to speak up and then criticizes you for it, remember that your worth and the value of your efforts are not based on how other people respond. They depend on how committed you are to being honest in what you say and do. The Stoic way would be to see the double bind for what it is, a challenge from the outside that doesn't say anything about your worth or skills. Instead of getting angry or doubting ourselves, it tells us to look at the situation calmly and without getting attached to it. Could you explain what is expected? Could you talk about the mixed feedback? If the situation can't be fixed, the Stoic practice of focusing on staying true to your own morals might be the best way to move forward. It can be very sneaky to let this happen because it can not only confuse you, but also make you question your own actions and feelings. For example, if someone feels bad about lying, they might say that you are the one who is lying. Also, if they are jealous, they may say that you are the one who can't be trusted. Making the problems about someone else, like you, is a way for them to avoid facing their own flaws, which makes them feel bad. Stoicism advises us to consider whether the charges against us are true. Are they really a measure of who we are or what we do, or are they someone else's problems? By keeping a clear sense of who we are and staying rooted in our own truth, we can block these false images from breaking through to our peace of mind. Marcus Aurelius advises us to treat other people's flaws with kindness and understanding, and to see projection for what it is, a sign of someone else's inner turmoil. This helps us react with understanding and kindness instead of anger or defense. This doesn't mean we believe the idea or don't say anything about it. Instead, we can calmly but strongly deny the false charges and, if possible, ask the presenter to think about how they behaved. To deal with projection in a Stoic way, we must also know the limits of our duty. We are in charge of what we do, how honest we are, and how we react. We are not responsible for the mental baggage that other people try to put on us. This difference is very important for keeping our mental health when we are projected upon. Setting and sticking to clear personal limits can also help you deal with projection. Stoicism shows us how important it is to know what is mentally, psychologically, and morally ours, and what is not. When someone puts their flaws on us, it's a clear sign that we need to set stronger limits, so to speak, to keep other people's trash out of our yard. You can find this trick of manipulation anywhere. When things are on sale, the limited time offer is what makes you want to buy them right away. In relationships, it could be a partner pushing you to make a pledge faster than you'd like, and at work, it could show up as ridiculous schedules that force you to make choices without enough knowledge or thought. One of the main ideas behind Stoicism is the dichotomy of control, which means figuring out what we can control and what we can't. When we're pressed for time, it's important to remember that we can't change the things that other people ask of us, but we can change how we respond to them. As Stoicism suggests, we can choose to take a deep breath, step back, and look at the situation with clarity and reason. Seneca says that time is the most valuable thing we have. Stoicism, on the other hand, tells us that how well our choices fit with our ideals and what we know to be true is much more important than how quickly we make them. This means that when someone tries to rush us, quoting Seneca can be a strong way to stop them. It's about realizing that the sense of pressure isn't always real, and that real chances, real friends, and real deals will give us the time and space to make the best choices for us. Marcus Aurelius tells us to live in the present and do what we do with honesty and purpose. This silent exercise can really help you when you're pressed for time. We can stay calm and make choices that are in our best interests by staying in the present and not getting caught up in the rush of a ticking clock. To deal with time pressure in a calm way, we need to be brave. We need to be brave enough to say no, ask for more time, and stick to our decisions, even if they go against what other people say is important. It means having the strength to fight the wave of urgency and pick the road that fits with our personal values and good sense. This strategy is especially shocking because it goes against our basic need for relationships to be stable and predictable. It makes us feel very uncomfortable when someone's behavior toward us changes all the time. We're hardwired to want acceptance and to feel like we belong, so when these things are given to us and then taken away suddenly, we crave more, try to figure out what happened, and end up walking on eggshells. The Stoics teach us that our happiness and peace of mind shouldn't rest on things outside of us, like how other people act. To be happy, Seneca says, we should base our happiness on our own virtue and reason, not on what other people think of us. When things happen around us, Epictetus tells us that we can choose how to react. We can stay focused and tell ourselves that the only thing we really have control over is our own thoughts and actions when things don't make sense. But this doesn't mean we stop caring about how other people treat us. This means that we don't let someone else's mood swings affect our own mental health. Stoicism in the face of uncertainty means building a sense of self-worth that doesn't depend on approval from other people. Realizing that we don't need stability and clarity in our relationships to be happy or feel good about ourselves is part of this process. Marcus Aurelius tells us to find peace within ourselves, even when things are going badly around us. This inner peace serves as a guide, helping us find our way through the fog of inconsistent behavior. Stoicism also teaches us how important it is to be clear when we talk to each other and set limits. When other people are inconsistent, it may be a sign that we need to be more clear about what we want and need. It tells us to show courage and justice, which are Stoic values. It tells us to be brave and deal with the problem straight, and it tells us to be fair and treat the other person with kindness and respect. Now imagine that someone locked up your emotions, the real, raw emotions that make you who you are. People tell you that you have to pay a price to get them back and feel better again. It could mean giving up something you value or doing something you don't feel safe with. It feels like your emotions are being held hostage, and the only way to free them is to agree to do whatever the blackmailer wants. This isn't just manipulation, it's deep manipulation that uses your ability to feel, which is one of the most basic rights as a person, against you. Emotional blackmail can come in many forms, such as by making someone feel guilty, scary, obligated, or shamed. This method uses our fears, our loves, and our need to be seen as good, loving people. But here's the thing, real love and respect don't have any strings attached. They don't require you to meet a list of conditions or put someone else's wants ahead of your own. Stoicism tells us that we can't change what other people do or expect, but we can change how we respond to them. We don't have to play the game. We learn from Marcus Aurelius how important it is to live in harmony with nature, which means being true to our own nature or character. Emotional blackmail means that someone wants us to do something that goes against who we are, something that goes against our morals and ethics, so they can get what they want. Stoics say that we should stick to our values, act with virtue, and keep our inner peace and honor intact, no matter what the outside pressures are. Stoicism also teaches us how important it is to care about other people and ourselves. When we're being emotionally blackmailed, it's important to be kind to ourselves and remember that it's okay to feel upset or confused, but we don't have to act on those feelings. It's also important to try to see things from the other person's point of view, since their actions are probably caused by their own pain or needs not being met. But being able to understand does not mean agreeing. We can show concern without giving up our freedom. This isn't just an argument. It's an attempt to get you to think about how you see the world. That's tricking someone. That kind of manipulation is so sneaky and delicate that it can make you doubt your memory, your mind, and even your truth. Gaslighting can happen in many ways, such as denying something you know happened, saying something that goes against how you feel, or calling your worries illogical or overly sensitive. The goal is always the same: to make you less sure of your own experiences and thoughts so that you rely more on the manipulator's version of reality. In the face of outward chaos, Marcus Aurelius advises us to remain firm. His teachings teach us to believe what we see and to go back to our inner fortress, where we can find peace and reason, and where no one else's words can reach us. Stoicism also tells us to always think about ourselves and our views and opinions, but not with uncertainty, but with clarity and honesty. In the case of gaslighting, this can be a very helpful technique. It helps us tell the difference between honest self-examination and doubt that comes from outside sources. When our reality is being unfairly questioned, we can tell because we know ourselves and our minds very well. The tough way to deal with gaslighting is not to become immune to manipulation, but to see it for what it is, an outside attempt to control and upset us, and to fight back with all our inner strength, our dedication to telling the truth, and our faith in our own perceptions. It's about keeping our emotions and minds in check, even when someone tries to tell us the sky isn't blue. No. 8. Fake praise from others. This strategy plays on our deep-seated need to fit in and be a part of the group. It tells us, even when our gut tells us otherwise, that we need to follow the crowd to fit in. There is a catch, though. Just because someone says everyone does it, doesn't mean it's true. This is a standard example of fake social approval, a manipulation tactic used to influence our behavior or thoughts by preying on our need to fit in with others. According to Marcus Aurelius, we should follow nature, our own nature, and be true to ourselves, even when other people say we shouldn't be. His lessons tell us that we should act in accordance with our inner ideals, not with passing social fads. We are asked to think about whether this behavior is good. Does it work for the good of everyone? Is it in line with who I really am? Stoicism also teaches us about the power of ataraxia, which is the peace of mind you get from living in a way that makes sense. When it comes to fake social approval, this idea becomes even more important. We keep our inner peace by sticking to our thinking and decisions and not letting what other people do affect us. This doesn't mean cutting ourselves off from society or ignoring social norms completely. Instead, it means thinking about the worth and effects of these norms on our lives and choosing which ones to follow. Also, the Stoic practice of premeditation, which means picturing problems that might come up and getting ready to deal with them, can be very helpful here. By thinking ahead to times when fake social approval could be used against us, we can strengthen our minds by practicing sticking to Stoic principles and our promise to always act with integrity, no matter what other people say. Think about how excited and ready you are to do a puzzle, but as you put it together, you see that half of the pieces are missing. You can't finish the picture or see the whole thing, no matter how hard you try. Like having important information kept from you, this anger feels like that. It's done on purpose to change how you see things and keep you from seeing the whole truth, which changes your choices and views based on incomplete information. There are many situations where people might hide information. In personal relationships, someone might not say how they feel or what they plan to do. At work, full details of a project or decision might be kept secret. And in larger social or political debates, the public may not be told all the facts. This strategy takes advantage of the fact that we all want to understand and make sense of the world around us. When puzzle pieces are purposely hidden from us, it can cause us to become confused, mistakes happen, and we act in the wrong way. The Stoic philosopher Seneca said that people should not judge or make decisions too quickly or without fully knowing them. He would tell us to wait, ask questions, and get as much information as we could before we decided what to do or formed an opinion. This doesn't mean we can't make a choice. It just means we know we don't fully understand everything and move forward with a controlled and well-thought-out plan. Additionally, Marcus Aurelius tells us of how important it is to have inner knowledge and seek the truth for its own sake. We are told to use our own inner resources, to use our reason and sense to question what we don't know and look for more sources of information when we are told that information is being kept from us. The goal of looking at the bigger picture is not just to make better choices. It's also to become more in line with the Stoic ideal of living in harmony with nature and truth. No. 10. Be afraid of attachment. It's about controlling your actions by making you afraid of what will happen if you don't do what you're told. Because it plays on one of our most basic instincts, fear, it is an effective form of manipulation. Someone might say to you in a personal relationship, "If you leave, you'll never find someone like me again," or in a professional setting, "Do this, or your career here is over." This kind of fear attachment makes you make decisions based on fear instead of logic. The Stoics teach us that fear, like all other emotions, is not a true mirror of reality, but rather a thought that can be looked at, understood, and eventually managed. Marcus Aurelius tells us that our logical mind has the power to keep us calm, even when things around us are upsetting, like when someone tries to control us through fear. Rather than letting outside noise and threats change our minds, he says we should go back to our inner citadel, our place of reason and virtue, where we can find the clarity and strength to stick to our choices. Seneca also says that when we face our fears head-on, we often discover that they are not as impossible as we thought. When we face the assumed results of not following through, they often lose some of their power over us. This lets us make choices based on our real values and what's best for us instead of out of fear. When someone tries to manipulate you, they often use this technique to shift blame from themselves to you, making you the bad guy for their actions or mistakes. The blame game is especially bad because it can make you feel stressed and guilty without reason, and it can also hurt your image and relationships with other people. This strategy depends on making people question and confuse things, which makes it hard to see what's going on and explain yourself well when you're wrongly accused. It's important to remember that we can handle charges, even if we can't change the accusations themselves. The Stoic way of thinking tells us to stay cool and reasonable, look at the facts, and stick to what we know to be true. Marcus Aurelius tells us to stay calm when people make false charges against us, and to keep our character when things go wrong. He would tell us not to get angry or defensive in response, but to quietly make our case and let our deeds show what kind of person we are. We can keep our cool and keep our peace of mind even when people blame us for things that aren't our fault. Seneca gives us advice on how to deal with problems and false charges, saying that our character and ideals will prove us right in the end. He tells people to be patient and accepting, knowing that the truth may not come out right away. Meanwhile, we should live in a way that makes those who know us not believe the lies about us, and makes those who don't know us believe us because of our unwavering virtue. 12. Giving false praise. In this situation, charm is used to lower your guard and make you more open to manipulation rather than as a genuine act of kindness. It can be hard to deal with false praise because it plays on our natural need to be liked and approved of. On the surface, it's nice because it makes us feel seen and valued, but the real goal is to get us to do or decide something that benefits someone else. You need to be able to tell the difference between sincere praise and lies with a purpose. Stoicism shows us how important it is to know ourselves and value our own opinions and ideals instead of what other people think of us. It makes us think about why someone is complimenting us and keeps us balanced, whether we're being scolded or praised. Marcus Aurelius advises us to disregard the views of others, whether they are positive or negative, and to instead focus on living by reason and virtue. When we get praise, the calm way to handle it would be to enjoy it, but not let it change our plans or cloud our judgment. It means realizing that our worth comes from what we do and who we are, not from what other people say about us. Epictetus talks about how important it is to be able to tell the difference between what is really good, like doing things that are in line with virtue, and what just seems good, like empty praise. He would tell us to think about the comments we get. Do they match up with what we know about our virtues and deeds, or are they an attempt to get us to do something that is not in our best interests? This is a tricky strategy because it taps into one of our best instincts, the need to help others. If you say no, it can feel like you're leaving someone in their hour of need, even if your gut tells you that their suffering might not be as clear-cut as it seems. Stoicism shows us how important it is to be wise and see things as they really are. It makes us think about what's really going on, to question the story that's being told, and to figure out if our help is really needed or if we're being used as victims. Marcus Aurelius tells us to be kind, fair, and smart in everything we do. He would tell us to be careful about how much concern we show and make sure that our desire to help isn't being used to get what we want. Stoicism calls for a strengthening of the mind, not a hardness of the heart, so that we can recognize when our values are working against us. Seneca, who knew a lot about how complicated relationships are, tells us that helping someone doesn't always mean giving them what they want, but what they need. Instead of giving in to requests that only support the manipulator's victim story, it can sometimes be more considerate to encourage self-sufficiency and resilience. The Stoic habit of thinking about things is also very helpful here. We can better tell when someone is taking advantage of our empathy when we think about how we connect with them. By thinking about it, we can set healthy limits and offer support in ways that are actually helpful without getting caught up in manipulative situations. People often call this giving the cold shoulder. Picture yourself in the middle of a chat when all of a sudden the other person stops talking and won't recognize your words, presence, or even existence. This isn't just an uncomfortable pause, it's a planned action that uses the lack of conversation as a tool. This silence is heavy and full of unsaid messages that are meant to make you feel unnoticeable, unworthy, or nervous. It forces you into a corner where you have to question your actions and your worth. Intentional silence can be very upsetting because it goes against one of our most basic needs, to connect and be acknowledged. When someone doesn't give these, they're not just blocking contact, they're also blocking approval and acknowledgement. However, it is important to remember that silence can say more about the person using it than it does about you or your worth. How does being silent help us deal with this cold silence? It shows us that our worth and peace of mind don't come from approval from other people, but from living by our own rules and ideals. As Marcus Aurelius says, we should look inward and find peace and confidence in our own decisions and actions instead of letting other people's approval or disapproval affect us. The Stoic principle tells us to think about our own honesty and worth, even if no one else acknowledges us. This is especially important when we are faced with deliberate silence. According to Seneca, being patient and enduring hardships is a virtue that is especially useful when managing the land of conscious silence. He shows us that keeping our honor, living a good life, and letting our deeds speak for themselves are sometimes the best things we can do. By doing this, we show that our self-esteem is not dependent on other people's willingness to talk to us. Stoicism also tells us to be kind to everyone, even those who use silence as a tool. This doesn't mean we put up with bad behavior or think less of ourselves. It just means we know that it's usually because the other person is having trouble or can't speak well. From this place of knowing, we can choose to show sensitivity and try to close the gap without giving up our own dignity. In the middle of the problems and chaos in life, Stoic wisdom is getting stronger. It gives you a freeing idea for growing as a person. It's possible that we need to cut ties with some people, even close family and friends. For those who want to find authenticity and inner peace, this is not a call to be alone. We're going to look at 11 signs that it's time to let go. First, if you feel like you are being misled or put in charge. When looking at the problem of manipulation and control in partnerships, it's important to look at the Stoic view on liberty, which was emphasized by Epictetus, who was a famous Stoic philosopher. He gives a powerful piece of advice: "No one is free who is not master of himself." This phrase captures the essence of freedom and self-government, which are both essential for personal growth and happiness in any relationship. There is a loss of liberty when there are signs of manipulation and control. A major violation of our personal freedom happens when someone constantly influences or tells us what to do, think, and decide. Stoic ideas stress self-mastery and the individual's freedom, so this goes against those ideas. It is very important to know how to spot a relationship that is manipulative or dominant. These signs can show up as constant criticism, low self-esteem, being cut off from family and friends, or being forced to make choices without considering what other people think. These kinds of actions not only hurt a person's self-esteem, but they also trap them in a circle of emotional and mental dependence. The first step toward freedom is realizing that you are in a situation that limits your freedom. Epictetus says that being in charge of yourself is the only way to really be free. To do this, one must take charge of their life, set healthy limits, and if necessary, end relationships that get in the way of their basic freedom. Deciding to end a relationship with someone who is controlling can be scary and painful, but it is also a brave act and an important step toward regaining control of one's life. This path to freedom is about finding out more about yourself. reaffirming your worth, and most importantly, reaffirming your independence. To sum up, having a lot of self-respect means understanding relationships that control or influence us and staying away from them. Epictetus said that we should try to be in charge of our own lives if a friendship does more harm than good. We can grow and reach our full potential when we have partnerships that respect our independence. Number 2, if people don't respect each other. It is very important to talk about mutual respect in partnerships, especially when it comes to Stoic ideals that value self-control and honor. These values can't be found in relationships where people don't respect each other. This can lead to misunderstandings, feelings of worthlessness, and constant stress. When two people respect each other, they can build good connections. It means recognizing that people are different, being able to listen and see things from the other person's point of view, and showing understanding and care. Without respect, people can't talk to each other, fights get worse, and peace falls apart. People in relationships who don't respect each other often treat each other badly, criticize them in hurtful ways, don't care about their needs or feelings, and even act abusively. These behaviors not only hurt the relationship, but they also have a big effect on the people involved's self-esteem and mental health. Stoic lessons stress how important it is to treat others with the same care and respect that you want for yourself. When people don't respect each other, it's important to look at the connection and decide what needs to be changed to get things back in balance. This could mean having an open conversation, setting clear limits, or even pulling away, especially if disrespect happens over and over again and can't be fixed. Recognizing when someone doesn't respect you in a relationship and taking steps to fix it or stay away from them is important for your mental health and sense of self-worth. Stoic ideas of honor and self-control say that picking relationships based on mutual respect is the best way to feel good about yourself and grow as a person. Number 3, when relationships get in the way of your growth as a person. This powerful quote from Epictetus makes us think about what friendship and family love are really about. If a friendship can come to an end, it was never truly genuine. They should, ideally, be like walls that support and guide us as we keep looking for wisdom and virtue. It's important to know, though, that some situations may take us off of this growth road. When our emotional ties start to sway us, it's time to think deeply about what's going on. We need to think about and question these links again, which isn't an easy thing to do. It takes self-reflection and the guts to choose what's best. There are times when we need to rethink old relationships, look at how our families work, or cut ties with friends who aren't adding to our lives. This is a journey to learn about and love yourself more than anything else. Basically, the idea is that the people we choose to travel with us have a lot to do with our own growth. Relationships that are healthy and positive push us to be better, give us good challenges, and, most importantly, accept who we are and our life goals. We need Seneca's wisdom when we're in relationships that get in the way of our growth. We should look for real relationships that will last through good times and bad. In our search for wisdom and, most importantly, for virtue, these connections help us along the way. It's a journey full of new experiences, obstacles, and sometimes the need to start over. 4. When the connection hurts more than it helps. When talking about the nature of relationships that do more harm than good, it's important to stress how important inner health is to everyone's journey. Toxic relationships, which drain your energy, make you feel bad all the time, and make your surroundings bad, are the opposite of personal growth and development. In these cases, it's important to know that stress, unsolved arguments, disrespect for each other, and a lack of emotional support are all clear signs of a relationship that isn't healthy. These patterns not only stop people from thriving, but they can also make mental and physical health worse. One of the most common signs of toxic relationships is criticism that never stops, a lack of understanding, manipulation, or even emotional abuse. These kinds of situations set off a negative loop that traps the person and stops them from moving forward in their personal or work life. To achieve inner well-being, you need to be in a place that encourages happiness, respect, mutual support, and most importantly, mental and emotional health. If a relationship gets in the way of these things, it's clear that things need to change. Choosing to stay away from a bad relationship is a sign of self-respect and care. It might be hard to make this choice, and you might feel guilty or scared about it, but it is an important step toward building healthy, positive relationships that really help your growth and well-being. Getting out of a bad relationship is also a time to think about things and learn new things. It gives people a chance to build self-esteem, remind themselves of their values and goals, and learn more about the kind of connection that makes life better. Because of this, it is important to know how to spot a bad relationship and have the guts to leave when you need to. After all, we should make it a goal to improve our inner health and grow as people. The ties we build are very important in this process. 5. When negative feelings take over the connection. It's appropriate to think about the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, a well-known Stoic, as we examine the world of negative feelings that can take control in partnerships. He teaches us a powerful lesson. You have power over your mind, not external events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This is a powerful reminder of how important it is to stay in charge of our thoughts and feelings, especially in relationships where negative emotions like anger, jealousy, or resentment are strong. When these negative feelings keep coming back and take over our relationships, they can pull us away from our inner strength. They trap us in a loop of automatic reactions to things that happen, which we can't always stop. Anger, jealousy, and spite are normal human feelings, but they can keep us from being calm and in control. Marcus Aurelius says that the hard part is noticing these negative feelings and realizing that we have power over how we react to them. Even though we can't change what happens in the outside world, we can completely control how we react. Self-mastery and self-analysis must be practiced all the time for this to work. These are important skills for keeping your mental and emotional health in tough situations. It's important to look at the aspects of a relationship when we learn that it constantly makes us feel bad. We need to ask ourselves if the relationship is good for our health and growth, or if it keeps us in a state of ongoing mental stress. In the end, we need to use the inner strength Marcus Aurelius talks about when we are dealing with negative feelings in our interactions. To do this, we need to be patient, understanding, and empathetic, and we also need to set healthy boundaries and, if necessary, move away from relationships that limit our emotional and intellectual growth. On this road of self-discovery and personal strength, we learn to value relationships that make us feel good and stay away from relationships that make us feel bad. 6th, if you're giving up something important to you. One of the most important ideas in Stoicism is that you should live your life in line with your values. This is the basis for a happy and worthwhile life. When we're in relationships that force us to give up or betray our core values, it creates a difficult situation that needs deep thought and re-evaluation. Personal beliefs help us make choices, act, and connect with others by acting as an internal guide. They show what we really believe and what we think is important and true. If we're in a relationship that requires us to give up or ignore these values, it can put our personal ethics at risk and make us feel very unhappy and uncomfortable. At first, relationships that force us to go against our values, put up with bad behavior, or give up important parts of who we are may not seem important. Over time, though, these small compromises add up and hurt our self-esteem and feeling of self-respect. Stoic philosophy teaches us how important it is to live our lives in line with our ideals. To do this, we need to have the strength to make tough decisions, stay away from things that are pulling us away from our path, and look for relationships that respect and reflect our core values. It's not easy to reevaluate a relationship based on how well it fits with our values. It can lead to internal conflicts, trust issues, fear of being alone, or resistance to change. Still, keeping true to our ideals is important for our mental and physical health. It is important to be aware of how our interactions affect and show our beliefs, because they show self-respect and authenticity. When we become aware of when we're compromising our ideals, we have to think carefully about whether the relationship is good for our health and growth. Picking ways that are in line with our values is not only a Stoic concept, but also a key step toward living a truly true and satisfying life. Seventh, the Stoic philosophy stresses strongly that we should accept truth when a relationship makes it impossible to do so. This also applies to our relationships with other people. When we're in relationships that hold us to false beliefs or push us to ignore truth, it can be very bad for us. Stoic beliefs say that accepting reality doesn't mean being passive or defeated. Instead, it means having a clear and objective view of the world as it is, without any unrealistic hopes or ideals. Using this Stoic principle to look at our relationships shows us that keeping ties based on lies or denial keeps us from living our lives in an honest and genuine way. We can't really understand ourselves or others when we're in relationships that make us ignore the truth, whether it's through dreams, making excuses for bad behavior all the time, or making up a different reality. This separation from reality can cause people to ignore important problems, make choices based on skewed views, and stay disappointed all the time. People in these kinds of relationships might break promises, have high standards, or refuse to see clear problems. We are constantly looking for something that isn't true, which makes these situations a growing ground for anger and discontent. It can be hard to face the truth in a relationship, especially when it means tearing down lies that we are attached to. But it's an important step for growing as a person and making connections that are better and more reasonable. Stoics tell us to accept things as they are, find peace in that knowledge, and deal with them as they are. Because of this, it's very important to know the signs that a connection is based on fantasy rather than truth. By recognizing these patterns and separating ourselves from them, we can find our way back to a more genuine and happy life, which is in line with Stoic ideas of acceptance and having a clear picture of what is real. Number 8. Sometimes conversation just doesn't work. Good communication is a key part of any healthy relationship. A big problem for unity and mutual understanding arises when communication regularly breaks down, whether it's one-sided or full of conflict over and over again. Stoic philosophy stresses this point. Misunderstandings, anger, and frustration often grow in relationships where people don't talk to each other enough. Stoics think that one-sided communication, in which one person takes over the talk or makes it hard for the other person to speak, is unfair. In the same way, conversation that is constantly tense and unable to find common ground can be tiring. Stoics believe that unity and balance should exist within each person and in all relationships. To improve communication in a relationship, they push the idea that people should try to understand each other, talk things out peacefully, avoid fights that aren't necessary, and create an atmosphere of mutual respect. Active hearing, speaking clearly and politely, and being willing to talk to someone while getting their point of view are all very important. This means talking about problems freely, sharing thoughts and wants, and working together to find good answers. If conversation regularly breaks down and efforts to make things better fail, the relationship may need to be looked at again. Seeking professional help, like from a couples therapist or psychologist, can help you get past problems with communication. To this end, keeping up healthy and useful conversation is essential for the life and health of any relationship. This is important for your own health and for making relationships that are peaceful and meaningful, which is in line with Stoic ideas about balance and knowing each other. Number 9. Any kind of abuse is wrong in any relationship. Stoic wisdom, which stresses how important self-respect and honor are, tells us very clearly that we should never put up with hurtful or cruel behavior. Abuse can show up in many forms, such as physically, emotionally, verbally, psychologically, or financially. It has a deep and negative effect on the mental, physical, and social health of the person suffering it, no matter what form it takes. Control, fear, solitude, and threats are all common in abusive partnerships. Stoic philosophy teaches us to value and respect ourselves, to know that we are valuable in and of themselves, and to refuse to be treated in a way that hurts our dignity or health. Being in a violent relationship means constantly being in a place that devalues and dehumanizes people, which is the exact opposite of what the Stoics would consider a good and honorable life. Realizing that you are in a violent relationship is the first and most important thing you need to do to get help and make things better. Really need to learn that abuse is never okay, and that the abuser is the only one responsible for it, not the victim. To get out of this position, it's important to get help, whether from friends, family, or experts. It is hard to leave a violent relationship and needs bravery and support, but it is an important step toward regaining your freedom, self-respect, and self-esteem. Getting over an abusive relationship isn't just about getting better, it's also about confirming your own worth and strength. So, knowing the signs of abuse and acting right away to protect yourself is in line with Stoic ideas about self-respect and self-worth. Everyone has the right to live a life that is free from abuse and treated with respect. Getting peace and inner calmness is one of the most important goals in Stoic thought, and if the relationship is making you feel less calm, it's time to end it. When relationships keep getting in the way of our inner peace, it's time to look closely at them and, if necessary, reevaluate or end them. The Stoic principle of finding calm does not work with relationships that cause constant tension, worry, stress, or feelings of uncertainty. Stoic thought tells us to hold on to our inner calm even when things are hard in the outside world. An ongoing connection that causes stress stops you from achieving this peace, leaving you in a constant state of mental pain. This not only hurts our mental health, but it also makes it harder for us to enjoy life and do things that matter. In this situation, it's very important to think about how the connection affects our health. This means thinking about how the relationship makes us feel, finding patterns of ongoing negativity, and checking to see if our efforts to make the relationship better have been in vain. In Stoic thought, we are told to make choices that are good for our health and inner peace, even if they are hard, especially when we have strong feelings about the other person. This could mean separating from relationships that make us feel less calm. It's important to understand that looking for peace is not a selfish act, but a necessary step for staying alive and living in line with our higher values. Because of this, when we're in situations that keep making us feel uneasy, we should have the strength to make tough decisions, always aiming for inner peace and balance. We know that ending a relationship is not a failure, but a brave step toward authenticity and personal wisdom because of Epictetus's wise words. The first and greatest victory is to conquer oneself. This difficult trip gives us a chance to grow and remind ourselves of our most important ideals and beliefs. In relationships where one person does not give and receive, exchange is very important for their health and long-term success. When one side always gives and the other always gets, there is a mismatch that leads to inequality, that is harmful and can't last in the long run. When people are in healthy relationships, they both give and receive in a fair way. This exchange doesn't have to happen right away or be exact all the time, but there should be a general sense of support and cooperation. One side will always be the giver, while the other side will always be the receiver. This creates an unfair situation that makes people feel angry, tired, and unimportant. This one-sided relationship can show up mentally, where one person always helps and rarely asks for help in return, or it can show up in real life when one person struggles with daily chores or making important decisions. When a mismatch happens all the time, the relationship goes from being a team to being a problem for one person. It's important to know the signs of a non-reciprocal relationship. Dealing with the problem may involve having open talks about needs and expectations, changing limits and responsibilities, and in some cases, rethinking whether the relationship is worth keeping in the long run. It's important to keep in mind that self-respect and self-esteem are also at risk in this situation. Putting yourself in a situation where you have to give without getting anything in return can make you feel less valuable. Finding balance in a relationship is not only the right thing to do, it's also good for you. Seeking exchange is the most important thing you can do to keep your relationships healthy and fulfilling. Balanced relationships help both people grow, accept each other, and be happy. These are the kinds of ties we should try to build because they are good for us and the people we connect with. Always keep in mind that every choice we make, especially ones that keep us away from things that will hurt us, takes guts and a lot of self-respect. It's true that most people feel really lonely at least once in their lives. Even though the world is more linked than ever, many of us are still looking for a real connection, a way to stop the quiet plague of loneliness that's taking over our lives. It's an interesting and deeply human contradiction that makes you think, doesn't it? Feeling so alone in a crowd. How do we find our way through these waters when old plans don't seem to match the world we live in now? What if I told you that the answers we're looking for might be in the Stoicism's lessons, which are based on ancient wisdom? There are many great minds in history who followed this old theory. It is not only a way to deal with problems, but also a way to live a full, linked, and happy life, even in today's busy world. You're welcome to stay if you've ever felt lonely, or if you're just interested in finding more peace and connection. We are going to look at the calm ways to deal with loneliness and live a full, happy life. Let's talk about how these old lessons can be surprisingly useful and deeply helpful in our modern lives. Please believe me, the trip is worthwhile. What comes to mind when you hear movement? Going for a run in the morning, doing yoga, or maybe the gym? Actually, that's all good, but let's take a closer look. The old Stoics, who were all about wisdom and resilience, saw movement as something very meaningful. Not only were they talking about being fit, but also about getting along with everything around us. Imagine moving your body not just to get stronger or lose weight, but also to get in touch with what life is all about. Imagine sending a message to every part of your body that says, "Hey, we're all in this together." You're talking to your soul every time you stretch your arms up to the sky or go for a long, thoughtful walk. You're telling yourself, "I value you, I hear you, and I'm here for you." This is more than just physical self-care, it's also mental and spiritual, and yes, it's very important. The great thing is that you don't need expensive tools or a gym ticket to move around like the Stoics did. Adding movement to your daily life in a way that feels good and natural is what it's all about. It could mean taking the stairs instead of the lift, dancing in the living room to your favorite song, or just moving during your break at work. Moving around should be a reward for what your body can do, not a punishment for what you ate for dinner. For what reason is this so important, especially when we're trying to fight loneliness? Well, moving around makes your brain glow like a Christmas tree with endorphins, the chemicals that make you feel good. However, moving brings you closer to the present, the world around you, and your own inner strength. It's a sign that you are alive, strong, and smarter than you think. Because they had a deep knowledge of how people work, the Stoics put a lot of importance on being kind to oneself and knowing your own worth. They knew an important thing that we forget all too often, how important it is to be kind and helpful to ourselves. For them, the most important bond is the one they have with themselves. Therefore, what does it mean to be your own cheerleader? Think about how you would treat your best friend. Do they know you're there for them, helping them, listening to them, enjoying their wins, and being there for them when they're down? Do you treat yourself with the same care, kindness, and understanding? If you said no, it's time to change your point of view. Being your own fan means praising your own work, letting yourself make mistakes, and enjoying your wins, no matter how small. It's about telling yourself, I'm my own best friend. This isn't just feel-good advice. It's a strong weapon against the loneliness and sadness that can sometimes sneak up on us. Feeling alone is never a problem when you have a best friend. It's easy to find strength and kindness inside you. But this is where the Stoic wisdom really shines. They didn't just talk about loving yourself in a space. They knew that it was an important part of having a good life. There was no ego or self-indulgence in being your own booster in their eyes. It was about knowing your worth and using that to build a life with purpose and meaning. It was about being kind to yourself so that you could handle the tough times that were coming. So what can we do to make this happen? Start by noticing when you're being the harshest on yourself. Change that critical inner voice for one that is supportive and compassionate. Enjoy your wins, learn from your losses, and be kind to yourself the way you'd treat your best friend. This change in viewpoint can give you a lot of power. It increases resilience, promotes a good self-perception, and most importantly, it tells you that you are not going through this trip alone. The world around us always makes us want to do, be, and achieve more. Also, it's great to have hopes and dreams. They help us keep going. The catch is that we can forget to enjoy what's in front of us when we're too busy looking forward to what's next. The Stoic philosopher King Marcus Aurelius and his timeless advice come into play. Not only did he run a kingdom, but he also cared deeply about how to live a worthwhile life. Another important thing he taught, not only being happy when we reach our goals, but also being happy just by living, trying, and thinking. As a lesson, life is made up of the path, the daily work, the small steps, the failures, and the wins. Think about it. It's easy to say to yourself, I'll be happy when I get there. But Marcus Aurelius said, find joy now, in the running itself. This means being present, enjoying the times of struggle and growth, and seeing the beauty in the process. It doesn't mean you shouldn't set goals or push yourself. It just means making happiness and thanks a part of your everyday life. So how can we use this calm wisdom in our everyday lives? Take a moment every day to think about what you're thankful for. A good cup of coffee, a chat with a friend, or the work you've made on a job could be all it takes. You have to train your mind to see and value the good, even when things are hard. But it's not just about being thankful. It's also about changing what success means. Instead of only looking at the result, think about the work that went into it, what you learned, and how much you grew with each step. Enjoy the little wins, learn from the failures, and keep in mind that each day is a chance to live your beliefs, aim for greatness, and enjoy the moment. Have you ever forgotten that there's a world outside because you were too busy with your daily life? Everyone has it happen to them. These issues, wants, and battles take up so much of our attention that we can't see anything else. But here's an interesting idea. What if you could really zoom out and see your life from a different angle? It's not a new idea. Stoics have been using this method for hundreds of years. It's called the view from above. A lot of great minds like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca were Stoics. They believed that this practice could help us see our lives more clearly. For a moment, picture yourself in space, looking down at Earth. With all of its ups and downs, your life is just a small part of a huge linked world. Things that seemed so big and overwhelming before start to look smaller and easier to handle. But why does this change in point of view matter so much? As a reminder of the bigger picture. It helps us look past our current problems and see that life is made up of many different events, people, and times. It's not that our problems aren't important or worth our time. It's that we need to understand our place in the big picture, which can be both freeing and humbling. How can we use this quiet wisdom in our everyday lives today? It's not as hard as you might think. Begin by pausing every day for a few seconds to remind yourself of how vast life is. To do this, you can meditate, stand on a rock, look at the stars, or even maps or globes. You want to mentally zoom out and see your life in a bigger picture. This habit can have a big impact on how we deal with problems. Remind yourself of the view from above whenever you feel stuck or stressed. There are billions of people in the world, and each one has their own story, problems, and joys. Think of how big the universe is and how many stars and galaxies there are. To keep in mind that our lives are important, they are only a small part of something much, much bigger. One can't deny the strength that comes from taking on tasks with other people, whether it's a difficult hike with friends, a group project, or just getting through life's ups and downs together. You know, that sense of togetherness that says, hey, we're all in this together. The Stoics were big supporters of community and helping each other out. These people knew that life isn't just about our own successes and failures. It's also about our relationships with others, about changing from an individual I to a group we. This change is a deep source of comfort and strength. Talking about our problems and fears and working together to get over them helps everyone, not just ourselves. The moment you understand that everyone else is going through their own problems and is willing to support you in yours is a very important one. Recognizing that pain is a part of the human condition and that there is strength in facing it together is the goal here, not downplaying your own experiences or problems. How can we use this quiet wisdom in our everyday lives? It starts with letting down your guard and being open. Asking for help and giving it back is part of creating a community where everyone feels seen and heard. You can do this by listening to a friend who needs it, joining a support group, or just telling your story. These small acts of kindness can make a big difference in our lives and the lives of those around us. It's not just about mental support, though. It's also about taking real action as a group. Stoics believe that people should help each other and work together to achieve a shared goal, whether it's a small group project or a bigger change in society. This is a warning that our acts, when joined with those of others, can make a real difference. When we learn to suffer with others, it doesn't mean we enjoy our problems. Instead, it means finding comfort in the fact that we all go through hard times and finding strength in our shared resilience. People are being asked to help and support each other and turn their own problems into wins for everyone. Imagine you're standing in the middle of a storm with the wind roaring and the rain pouring down. Because, let's face it, there is obvious strength in numbers. Stoicism advises against standing alone and taking it. Realizing that we're a part of something bigger than ourselves, a community, a group of people going through life together, is important. In a way, asking for help is a sign of human connection. It means admitting our flaws and accepting the fact that we're not alone in the world. We are all linked and rely on each other for support, strength, and direction. To me, this understanding is incredibly somber. It's an awareness of our shared humanity, a nod to the idea that we're all woven into the same cosmic tapestry, each of us sewing our own thread into the whole. How then can we use this quiet wisdom in our everyday lives? First, know that it's okay to feel confused or stressed and not have all the answers. The important thing is how we deal with these feelings. Do we close down and stay alone, or do we reach out, be honest, and ask for help? The Stoics would advise us to rely on our community and find strength in the wisdom and experience of everyone around us. The interesting thing is that asking for help isn't just about getting it, it's also about giving it. There are two ways to get there. By letting others help us, we create a space for growth and support for everyone. This creates a cycle of giving and getting that makes our lives and the lives of those around us better. We show the Stoic qualities of courage, wisdom, and society by doing this. Stoicism shows us how important it is to know what's important and then stick to it like glue, not ignoring what's going on around you, figuring out what needs your attention and what doesn't. Imagine that your life is a trip. On this trip, you have your own unique plan made up of your hopes, dreams, and goals. For Stoics, that's your North Star, or light that leads you. Imagine that you're walking down this road and there's a steady buzz all around you. There are social media alerts, the newest trends, news cycles, and more. Slipping off track and losing sight of your goal is very easy. But staying on track means remembering that North Star, even when it's very dark and there are a lot of other things going on around you. Marcus Aurelius said that people should stay true to themselves and not get caught up in the chaos going on around them. It's not what happens to you that matters, but how you react to it, he would say. The truth in that is very strong. It's a message to stay on track with your journey, even when it seems like the world is trying to throw you off. Tell me, how do we do this? People talk all the time, so how do we stay focused? We can start by reminding ourselves of our goals and ideals every day. How are you trying to get there? What's genuinely important to you? Following that, it's about establishing limits. Yes, limits. Saying no to things that aren't right for you is fine. You can step away from the noise and concentrate on what's important to you. But maybe the most patient way to stay focused on your road is to know and accept that there will be things that get in the way. Embark on the trip. The key is to use them as chances to strengthen your resolve, practice resilience, and renew your commitment to your path, not as a way to let them discourage you. This is what happens to everyone, from the strongest rulers to the simplest people. There is a beautiful, if sad, lesson to live fully and enjoy every moment in the way that everything changes and goes. Maybe you're thinking, that's kind of a bummer, but be patient with me. Focusing on the gloomy or getting lost in psychological fear is not what this is about. In fact, quite the opposite. Recognizing that things change over time is a way to value the present moment. When we realize that nothing lasts forever, we have the amazing chance to make the most of the time we have. A Stoic view of life is like Marcus Aurelius's words, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." That's a strong call to action, isn't it? Not out of fear, but to get things done. It tells us to stop putting off the things that really matter and stop waiting for tomorrow, because today is all we have. But how do we live our daily lives with this quiet wisdom? To begin, by showing thanks. Take a moment every day to be grateful for the people in your life, the things you get to do, and even the little things that make you happy. The song is about enjoying the little things in life and finding beauty in how quickly things change. The next part is about living honestly. If time is a limited resource, then why waste it on being fake? Stoics say that we should live a life that is true to our values, and that we can say was truly ours when we look back. Lastly, it's about letting go of past mistakes, worries about the future, and even anger. We need to understand that the parts of our lives change, just like the seasons. Change is good because it leads to growth, learning, and most importantly, the chance to start over. Thanks to their deep wisdom, the Stoics teach us that hardship is not just something to put up with, but something to welcome. They think that every no, delay, and challenge is the world telling them, "Let's see what you're made of." It's during these times, these duels of fate, that we can become smarter, stronger, and more resilient. Think about it this way. Life is full of times that test us, make us leave our comfort zones, and make us decide what we want to do. However, what if we didn't prepare for these times, but instead accepted them? What if we saw each struggle as an opportunity to grow a strength we didn't even know we needed? What if something unexpected happens in your life? It could be losing your job, having a project fail, or having a personal failure. The first feeling that comes to mind could be sadness, anger, or even hopelessness. However, Stoic wisdom shines a light. You don't let the surprise knock you down. Instead, you step up to the plate and ready to swing back with all your resources. You ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? This doesn't mean ignoring or lying that difficult situations aren't hard. It means recognizing the struggle and then finding the strength and resilience to face it head on. That problem should be seen as a stepping stone instead of a problem. The good news is that the more we practice accepting problems, the better we get at dealing with them in life. We begin to notice trends, lessons, and growth chances in places we did not expect. We are better able to bend, adapt, and accept change. So, the next time you find yourself facing a challenge, remember the Stoic approach. Accept the hardship, look it in the eye, and say, "I see you, and I'm ready to learn from you." This is a powerful mindset shift that can change not only how you deal with problems, but also how you move through the world. It's like carrying a rock around on your back when you're sad, lonely, or just plain stressed out. And do you know what? Even the most virtuous Stoics, who were models of virtue and resilience, occasionally felt the weight of the universe. They knew an important thing that we forget. It's okay to be open and feel things. The human experience is very complex, and all of this is a part of it. Stoicism isn't about hiding your feelings or acting like they don't exist. It's about being aware of them, understanding them, and learning how to deal with them in a healthy and helpful way. While the Stoics valued wisdom, courage, justice, and moderation, they also believed in the importance of knowing yourself and being emotionally intelligent. To deal with the problems in life with strength and honor, they knew that one had to first recognize and understand their own emotions. In times of sadness, loneliness, or when the world seems too much to handle, remember that it's not just you. It's a feeling that links us all. Admitting, "Hey, I'm having a little trouble here," is a sign of strength. It's the first step to getting that heavy thing off your chest and putting it down. The important thing is that you don't just recognize your feelings alone. Share them. Talk to a friend, family member, doctor, or anyone else who will listen. We find strength in sharing our weaknesses. We understand that we're not the only ones going through hard times, and that feeling of being connected to other people can be very helpful. The Stoics thought that help and society could make a difference. They knew that even though the path to self-improvement and resilience is personal, it doesn't have to be taken by one person alone. People are naturally social and want to connect with others. It's through those relationships that we find comfort, support, and, in the end, a way to lighten the load. Because they had a deep knowledge of both people and the world, the Stoics strongly believed in meditation and deep thought. They knew how important it was to set aside quiet times in their daily lives. times when they could stop the chaos around them and focus on their own thoughts and feelings. They found peace, focus, and most importantly, ideas on how to live a good and satisfying life in these quiet times. Now, putting this quiet practice to use in our modern lives might seem hard at first. There always seems to be something that needs our attention, and our phones are always ringing. But here's the thing. Finding stillness doesn't mean avoiding the modern world or going into a cave, even though those ideas might sound appealing at times. It's about finding quiet spots in the middle of the noise, times when you can tune out the outside world and tune in to your own thoughts. Picture life as a busy city where people are always on the go and screens are always flashing. Finding stillness is like finding a park in the middle of a busy city where you can close your eyes, sit on a bench, and just breathe. Pressing stop, even for a few minutes, allows you to pay more attention to yourself and the world around you. The best part is that you don't need anything extra to be still. If you can, you don't have to do an hour of silent meditation at dawn or go on a week-long vacation in the woods. Simply set your mind on something for a short time. Just putting down your phone for a while, taking a quiet walk without headphones, or sitting still and focused on your breath could help. Stoics thought that when we are still, we can find our true selves. They thought that this is when we can hear our own thoughts more clearly, understand our feelings better, and learn more about what matters to us. And that focus brings peace, a break from the stresses and pressures of everyday life. Stoics had a deep knowledge of how uncertain life is by its very nature. There are a lot of turns and potholes on it. They thought that people should face this insecurity not with despair, but with a strong sense of peace. Even though we can't change what happens to us, they taught us that we can change how we react to it. That's why taking things as they are doesn't mean being passive or giving up. It's about accepting that we can't always control what happens, and that's okay. We should not worry about what might have been, but instead focus on accepting what is. It doesn't mean we stop trying or give up on our hopes and dreams. Instead, it means we go after our goals with calm and clarity, knowing that we've done our part and can't do anything else. Just think about how freeing it would be to not have to be in charge of everything in our lives. Just by understanding that some things are the way they are, we can escape storms of fear and anxiety. We can handle life with grace and ease when we accept it, which is not only admirable, but also very useful. The Stoic twist is that when we accept things as they are, we're not just giving up and letting fate take its course. We're also lining up with the flow of life. In this way, we recognize that life goes through stages of growth and decay, success and failure, just like the seasons. And in this acceptance, you can find deep peace and a strong base to stand on as life changes all the time. Take a deep breath and remember the quiet wisdom the next time you find yourself caught up in a storm of what-ifs. Focus on what you can control, do your best, and then let the rest happen as it will. That's not because you can't change the world. It's because accepting things as they are is the best way to live in balance with it. And that's it, a trip through the timeless wisdom of Stoicism that fits the way we live now. Remember that the problems we face don't define our way forward. How we choose to deal with them does. These lessons should stay with you as you go through your day, week, and life. Let them be a lighthouse in the dark, a sign that you have a source of strength and peace inside you that's just ready to be tapped. By looking at things through the eyes of the Stoic, we will start to understand and solve tough problems. Today, we're going on a trip to learn about the timeless power and wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, who was Emperor of Rome and a famous Stoic philosopher. We will learn how to deal with life's problems and build inner strength and resilience through meditations, his deep work of thought. Marcus Aurelius, who has been through rough times in both his personal and political life, will show us how to live a good life in a world that is always changing. It is like a mirror that shows us Marcus Aurelius's deep wisdom and deep thoughts. It also inspires us to develop inner confidence and self-control. He thought that we can get through anything, stay balanced, and find inner peace by focusing on the things we can change: our thoughts, feelings, and deeds. Now I'm going to talk about 10 useful meditation lessons that will help us live a better, more joyful life. Marcus Aurelius lessons can help you if you are having personal or business problems, or if you are just looking for ways to live a healthy and useful life. They will be an example and a source of wisdom that priceless. Bring your positive thoughts, kindness, and understanding with you on this trip through meditations to learn how to build a happy and successful life. The first lesson is to show thanks. Learning to be thankful can help you in many ways. Numerous research studies have shown that people who regularly show thanks are happier, healthier, and have better relationships. The health of their bodies is even better. People who are grateful are more likely to be positive, feel less stress and worry, and be better able to handle tough scenarios. You might want to start a gratitude book to bring more thankfulness into your daily life. Write down 3 things you're thankful for every day, no matter how big or small they are. This simple habit can help you stop focusing on the bad things in life and start focusing on the good things. This will help you see and enjoy the blessings you often miss. Saying thank you to other people is another way to practice kindness. Thank your friends, family, and co-workers for being there for you, being kind and accepting. By letting them know how much they mean to you, you not only improve your relationships, but you also grow your own sense of thanks. Making it a habit to think about your accomplishments, wins, and the problems you've solved is also important. To feel more grateful for the events that have made you who you are today, you should be aware of your personal growth and the lessons you've learned along the way. Being mindful can also help you become more grateful. If you pay attention to the present, you can enjoy small things that you might otherwise miss, like the warm sun on your face or the laughs of people you care about. Taking time to enjoy these moments can help you be more thankful for the little things in life. A strong way to improve general psychological well-being, create a positive mindset, and build resilience is to practice thanks. You can develop a deep appreciation for life's blessings by writing in a gratitude book, showing appreciation to others, thinking about your own growth, and practicing awareness. When you walk outside on a beautiful morning, the warm sun hits your face right away. You stop and enjoy the moment instead of going on without noticing. You're thankful that you could feel the sun's warmth and light that day, which is something that people often forget about in their busy lives. These steps show you how to use awareness and thanks to make your daily life better. Second lesson, be okay with things you can't change. Take every step and every moment to appreciate what fate has given you. Let's show love to the people who have been a part of all of our journeys, not just with words, but with an open heart. Love with a full heart all the time. Being able to accept and let go of things we can't change is one of the most important lessons Marcus Aurelius teaches us. Stoic thought is based on this idea, and it is an important part of building resilience and inner strength. When we learn to accept that life is unsure and that we can't change things that happen to us, we can focus on what really matters: our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Accepting what is lets us be at peace with the present and be happy even though life has its ups and downs. Giving up the need to be in charge frees us from worry, fear, and sadness, which makes it easier to deal with tough situations with courage and wisdom. First, figure out what parts of your life you can't change in order to adopt this attitude. Write down the things that you can't change and practice accepting them as they happen. This activity can help you figure out what you can and cannot change, so you can stop trying to change things that are out of your power, that aren't going to help. The practice of separation is another helpful method. Realizing and understanding how short life is a part of detachment. Realizing that everything is temporary and can change can help us see things more clearly and learn to accept the normal ups and downs of life. When you're going through a tough time, tell yourself, "This too shall pass," and go into it with an open heart and mind. Meditation is another good way to help you learn to accept things as they are. You can become more aware of how you respond to life's problems if you set aside time every day to clear your mind and pay attention to your thoughts and feelings. This increased self-awareness can help you figure out when you're having a hard time accepting things that can't be changed and make it easier for you to approach chances with an open mind. There is a lot of inner strength and resilience in learning to accept the things we can't change. We can create a healthy and open view of life by practicing detachment, awareness, and meditation. We can enjoy the beauty and wealth of life by adopting this mindset, which not only helps us face challenges with courage and wisdom. In the wise words of Marcus Aurelius, "Accept the things that fate binds you, and love the people that fate brings you together, but do it with all your heart." Let's say you have a fun plan one day to go for a walk in the park and do some things outside. But when you get to the park, you see that it's terrible outside and it's raining. You choose not to be upset or angry about this change. Instead, you decide to accept it and start enjoying the day. When you and your friends change your plans, you decide to go to a nearby museum instead of what you had planned. You learn a lot on this tour and have a good time. Because you were open to changing your plans when the weather changed, you had a great day and made memories that will last a lifetime. Third lesson, mastering your point of view. Marcus Aurelius is understanding that we need to be careful about what we think and how we understand things is a strong reflection of this. The way we think about what happened is not based on facts, but on our own ideas. Greater inner strength and resilience are fostered as we develop the ability to control our mental and emotional reactions. Being aware of ourselves is the first thing that helps us take charge of our thoughts and feelings. You should pay attention to your thoughts and know when you're stuck in negative or useless ways of thinking. As soon as we are aware of these habits, we can work to replace them with views that are more sensible and logical. Doing things every day that involve focus is a good way to keep working on this skill. To be aware, we have to be fully present in the present moment and watch our thoughts and feelings come and go without attaching to them or reacting to them too much. By learning mindfulness, we can become more self-aware and learn to know when it's time to change how we see things. Another way to take charge of your viewpoint is to question your ideas through cognitive reframing. This means constantly questioning any negative or irrational thoughts and changing them with ones that are more fair and reasonable. For example, if you think, "I'm a failure because I didn't get the promotion," try to reframe it as, "Just because I didn't get the promotion this time doesn't mean I'm not valuable or capable. I can learn from this experience and move up in my career." Finally, being around positive people can help you get better at controlling your thoughts. You should look for friends, teachers, or role models who have the attitudes and beliefs you want to develop. Having activities and conversations that make you feel good might help you sum up and become even more cheerful and helpful. We can change our mental mindset to have a more balanced and positive view by practicing self-awareness, mindfulness, cognitive reframing, and being around positive influences. Mastering our point of view is an important first step toward building inner strength and resilience. This change has made it easier for us to get through hard times and deal with life's problems with more confidence and calm. Remember that Marcus Aurelius, who was very smart, said that our views are flexible and can be changed to fit our needs. Cognitive reframing can be used to change, for example, a negative and self-deprecating thought. Rather than thinking, "No, I didn't get the promotion this time, but that doesn't mean I'm a failure or not worthy," you can think, "I can use this experience to learn and develop my skills. Perhaps this position wasn't meant for me, and there might be better opportunities waiting for me ahead." Let's say you went to an interview for a job, but didn't get the job. You feel bad after the interview and think, "I failed because I didn't get this promotion." By cognitive reframing, you've changed a negative thought into a more positive and balanced one, which will help you stay confident and positive as you look for new opportunities. Lesson 4. Get better at being detached. No matter what other people think or do, keep your precious soul fire alive. In his lessons, Marcus Aurelius stressed how important it was to separate oneself from outside events and situations. What he says is that we should focus on developing our spirituality and inner beliefs. This will not only bring us peace, but it will also make us stronger when life gets tough. We can build more inner strength and resilience instead of looking for approval or happiness from other people. There are a lot of different perks to detaching. Maintaining calm and mental stability, even when things are hard or trying, is helped by detachment. Besides that, it keeps us from getting too tied to results, things, or other people's views, which can cause stress, anxiety, and sadness. To learn detachment in your daily life, start by paying more attention to how you think and feel about things that happen around you. Keep an eye on how you react to things and work on watching your feelings and thoughts without getting too attached to them. This newfound self-awareness can help you tell when you're focusing too much on things going on around you and help you shift your attention inward. To help you practice separation, you could also tell yourself often that life is temporary. Realize that things, people, and situations can change, and that trying to find permanent happiness in these areas is pointless in the end. Instead, focus on personal growth, principles, and faith to find true happiness and satisfaction inside yourself. Having a strong sense of who you are and what you stand for can also help you become less attached to other people. When you know what's most important to you, it's easier to let go of outside factors that might not match your values. Take some time to think about what you believe deeply, and then use that as a source of strength when making decisions and taking action. Finally, do spiritual or reflective activities on a daily basis. In this case, practices like prayer, meditation, or writing in a journal can be very helpful. You can improve your link to your inner self, separate yourself from outside forces, and focus on your own spiritual and personal growth by engaging in these activities. Because it calms and concentrates you, meditation helps you go deep inside, which leads to self-awareness and peace. Writing in a book, on the other hand, lets you express yourself and think about things, which helps you learn more about your feelings and thoughts. Whether it's a religious practice or something you do on your own, prayer can also give you comfort and direction, connect you to higher goals, and strengthen your inner resilience. A refuge for inner peace and self-discovery can be made from these practices that you do every day. Having a strong and sturdy inner spirit can help you find your way through the maze of the outside world. Being detached from outside events and situations can be a very helpful way to develop inner peace and strength. You can create a sense of distance that helps you handle life's problems with grace and ease by taking a broad view, accepting that things change, knowing your values, and doing spiritual practices. Fifth lesson: stick to what makes sense. Being happy is not just a spiritual state, it comes from the ideas we hold. Through reasoning and reason, Marcus Aurelius said that the way we think determines our happiness and peace of mind. We can make smarter choices with more deep understanding if we let reason guide our thoughts and actions. He said that we can be happy if we have better control over our feelings, deal with problems clearly, and show a lot of openness. Being able to think logically is important for getting past problems because it helps us look at them clearly, find workable answers, and weigh the pros and cons of each choice. Impulsive emotions like fear or anger are less powerful when we think things through. These emotions often cloud our judgment and lead us to make bad choices. One way to improve your logical thinking is to use critical thinking skills. This makes you think about beliefs, looking at the facts and different points of view. When you're in a tough situation, step back and think about your ideas. Check to see if you have enough proof to support your beliefs. Also, think about any other answers or reasons you might have missed. Another way to improve your ability to think logically is to do regular self-reflection. By regularly looking at your thoughts, beliefs, and actions, you can learn more about your drives, prejudices, and thinking habits. Being aware of yourself can help you figure out when your feelings or wrong assumptions are affecting the way you think, which can help you steer your thoughts in a more basic and reasonable direction. Greater inner strength and resilience can be achieved when we are guided by reason to adopt a more balanced and positive outlook. Remember that happiness is not a state that you can't find. It comes from the ideas you hold and the way you think. We can face the problems of life with clarity and confidence if we let reason guide our thoughts and actions. These are some things we can learn from Marcus Aurelius's meditations that will help us live a happier, more worthwhile life. We can develop resilience, inner strength, and happiness by applying these lessons to our daily lives, even when things go wrong. Thank you for coming along with us on this trip to learn more about ourselves and grow as people. Remember that you have the power to change your life. Accept it, take care of it, and let it lead you to a life with meaning and satisfaction. Managing your emotions is very important because strong emotions can get in the way of thinking clearly. Mindfulness meditation and deep breathing exercises can help you better handle your feelings and clear your mind so you can think clearly and logically. Lastly, you might want to look for internships to improve your problem-solving skills. Do things that make you think, like arguing, playing strategy games, and working puzzles. You could also do intelligent activities, have interesting conversations with friends who share your hobbies, or read things that will make you think. This will not only make you more aware, but it will also help you grow as a person and understand the world around you better. Use these enlightening situations to keep growing smarter and seeing things from different points of view. It's possible that these experiences will make you smarter and better able to think clearly and reason your way through problems. A key skill for getting through tough times and building resilience is critical thought. By thinking about ourselves, controlling our feelings, and getting better at handling problems, we may be able to think more logically, which will make it easier for us to get through life's challenges. The sixth lesson is to work on being humble and understanding. Before you criticize someone, ask yourself, what is the most recent mistake I made that is similar to the one I'm about to criticize? Being humble and understanding are two important traits for building inner strength and resilience. In addition to making our connections better, they help us develop a caring attitude and learn more about ourselves. Marcus Aurelius's quote tells us that we should think about our own flaws and try to understand how others feel and what they've been through before we judge or criticize them. To be humble, we have to admit that we're not perfect and that everyone, no matter their past or situation, can teach us something. Having a humble attitude makes us more open to feedback and personal growth, which helps us deal with problems and adjust to new situations better. In your daily life, try to be more humble by listening more and speaking less. Pay attention to what other people say and think, and be willing to admit when you're wrong or when you can learn something from them. Also, be ready to own up to your mistakes and accept blame for what you did. Being ready to let down your guard can help you grow and get better. Empathy, on the other hand, means trying to understand how someone else feels, what they think, and what they've been through. When you have this skill, you can connect with others more deeply. This helps you deal with tough situations and improve relationships, which makes you stronger when bad things happen. Give someone your full attention when they're talking and try to understand their point of view without passing judgment. This will help you build understanding. Asking open-ended questions will help them feel more comfortable talking about their feelings and experiences. You can also learn empathy by volunteering or doing good things for other people. Helping others, especially those who are having a hard time, can help you understand their feelings and experiences better, which can make you feel very compassionate and empathetic. Being humble and caring about others are two important parts of building inner strength and resilience. A more compassionate and humble view of life can be gained by practicing active listening, self-reflection, and doing activities that encourage kindness. Seventh lesson: take care of your inner peace. A lot of what Marcus Aurelius says about how our thoughts affect our mental balance and inner calm is very true. Taking care of your inner peace is important for mental balance and building resilience, which helps you handle problems better and stay calm when bad things happen. Peace of mind is important in many ways. When we find comfort in ourselves, we are better able to deal with the struggles and unknowns that life brings. This mental balance can be a barrier that keeps mental health better overall and lowers the risk of mental problems. In the first place, it helps us deal with worry and nervousness better. Second, having inner peace helps us think and reason clearly, which keeps us from being swayed by strong feelings and gives us more clarity when we face problems. Focusing leads to stronger strategies and answers. Promoting inner calm can be done by doing things that you enjoy and that make you feel calm. This could mean spending time in outdoors, doing hobbies, or building ties with loved ones. Take care of yourself and do things that are good for your soul, like activities that restore your mental energy and promote peace and unity. In the same way, it's important to learn how to deal with stress and bad feelings. Deep breathing techniques or physical activities like yoga or walks are some examples. All of these can help people feel less stressed and get their minds back on track. Last but not least, think about making thanks a regular habit. A more positive attitude and inner peace can be achieved by focusing on the good things in life and being thankful for the gifts you have received. For instance, if you get stuck in traffic on your way to work in the morning, don't get angry and worried. Instead, tell yourself that you can change how you react to it. You can choose to see this as a chance to think and be aware. Take a few deep breaths and use the time you have to meditate, listen to educational podcasts, or be thankful that you have a job that you have to travel to. You can become a strong lesson by choosing this mindset. Turn problems into chances to learn the eighth lesson. Marcus Aurelius once said something very wise that taught us that problems we face are not just things that get in the way, but things that push us to act and grow. He said, "What stands in the way of action becomes the way." This deep wisdom shows that obstacles are not just failures, but rather chances to grow and improve oneself. We can build resilience and mental strength by changing how we think about problems and problems that stand in our way. This will help us get through even the most difficult conditions. Issues that present themselves can help people grow in many ways. They are the places where we learn new skills, gain useful lessons, and learn more about ourselves and our potential. Overcoming problems can also boost our confidence because it shows us that we can deal with tough situations and come out better on the other side. Start by having a growth attitude. This will help you see problems as opportunities to learn and grow. A growth mindset is based on the idea that we can improve our skills and knowledge by working hard and being dedicated all the time. When you're facing a problem, think about what skills or information you can gain from it and how that can help you become a better, more knowledgeable person. One more way to see problems as opportunities for growth is to learn how to change the way you think negatively. When you're in a tough situation, try to figure out what negative thoughts it brings up and actively change them into positive, powerful, and encouraging ones. For instance, if you think, "I don't have enough skills to do this job," try changing your thought to, "That's right, this is a challenging task, but it's also a chance for me to learn and grow." This shift in perspective can help you approach challenges with a growth mindset, seeing them as chances to improve yourself and move forward. By changing your bad thoughts in this way, you can become more patient and have more faith in yourself, which will eventually make you feel better about life. It can also be very helpful to get ideas from the stories of people who have been through tough times and come out on top. Doing things like reading books or listening to podcasts about important people will help you learn about the stories of people who have dealt with problems and used them to move forward. These people who serve as role models show that growth and change are possible no matter what. Lastly, if you are having trouble, you might want to get help from friends or a counselor. Help yourself by surrounding yourself with people who can encourage, advise, and give you new viewpoints that will help you see difficulties as chances to grow instead of impossible problems. One important part of building resilience and inner strength is turning problems into opportunities to learn and grow. If you have a growth attitude, you will get better at changing your thoughts and get ideas from creative sources while using your support network. You will be ready to use obstacles as chances to learn, grow, and become more spiritually wise and better at yourself. Ninth lesson: enjoy the present moment. Don't think about the past or the future too much. Focusing on what's going on around us can help us enjoy the richness of life and find deep peace and happiness. Marcus Aurelius's deep advice stresses how important it is to live in the present moment. As he reminds us, strength and peace come from accepting and loving every moment of life as it is. There are many benefits to focusing on the here and now. Being aware and living in the present moment lets us fully experience our feelings and emotions without being held back by memories or worries about the future. This increased awareness lets us explore the depths of our souls and the world around us, which helps us grow and learn about ourselves. Anxiety and stress levels go down, and mental health and self-awareness improve. When you want to stay in the present, mindfulness meditation can help. Watching your thoughts and feelings without bias is part of this type of meditation. By meditating on this, you can fully experience the present moment. Find a quiet place, sit in a way that feels good, and focus on your breath to start. When feelings and thoughts come up, just be aware of them without judging them, and then gently bring your mind back to your breathing. This can be done every day for as little as 5 minutes and has a huge impact on your health. Instead, you can make awareness activities a part of your everyday life. You can do mindful eating, in which you enjoy the taste and texture of your food, or walking meditation, in which you pay attention to your surroundings and how your body feels as you move. By bringing mindfulness into everyday activities, you may grow to value the present moment more and make a stronger link with your feelings and thoughts. You might also want to set aside some time every day to think about and evaluate yourself. Writing in a book can help you deal with your thoughts, feelings, and events, while also making you more aware of the present moment. Writing in a book can also help you see patterns in your life that keep happening. In your journal, you may notice that certain people, events, or situations come up over and over again. This can help you figure out your strengths, flaws, and goals. Make it a habit to write in a notebook and give yourself time every day to think about and evaluate yourself. Getting involved in this could make your life better and help you understand and be more aware of the world around you. 10th lesson: keep going. Don't get lost in thoughts of what you don't have. Instead, notice and enjoy the good things in your life. Remember to be thankful for what you have, and that the things you have now could become strong wishes one day if they are taken away. In this last lesson, Marcus Aurelius stresses how important it is to stay determined and keep making progress when you're having trouble. We can keep growing and moving forward even when things get hard, if we keep our minds on the good things we already have and keep an open mind to new things. Determination is a key part of getting through tough times because it gives us the tools to get past problems. Failures teach us lessons, and steady growth helps us reach our goals. By keeping moving forward, we build inner strength and resilience and get better at the skills and information we need to deal with future obstacles. To stay motivated and focused on progress, start by making goals that are clear, attainable, and in line with your values and interests. While you're going through hard times or failing, having a clear picture of your goals can help you stay focused and motivated. To stay motivated, break your goals down into steps that you can handle and celebrate your progress at each one. Practicing self-compassion is another way to keep yourself motivated. Know that loss and problems are normal parts of life, and be patient and kind to yourself when you're going through them. By practicing self-compassion, you can keep a positive outlook and the drive to keep going even when things get tough. Having a group of supporting people who share your values can also help you stay motivated and have a growth-oriented attitude. Find friends, guide, or support groups that share your goals and ideals. Looking at their accomplishments and paths can give you hope and motivation, which can help you stay determined and move forward. Lastly, make time to regularly think about your growth and what you've done well. Recognize the challenges you've beaten, the skills you've gained, and the emotional growth you've gone through on your trip. By reflecting on yourself in this way, you can keep yourself motivated to face obstacles and reach your goals. Keeping your constant drive and making steady progress is important for getting through tough times and building resilience. You can stay motivated and keep going even when life throws you problems if you set clear goals, show yourself kindness, surround yourself with people who will help you, and think about your trip. It is not only a skill, but also a requirement to learn how to separate yourself from people and events with wisdom. Stoicism, which is full of old Greek wisdom, can help us figure out how to handle these complicated situations with other people. In this episode, we go deep into the heart of Stoicism and learn how to keep your inner peace even when life is crazy. We'll talk about how Stoic principles help us figure out what we can control and what we can't, which helps us act with purpose and poise. Stoicism teaches us to be detached, but it also teaches us to find freedom and peace within ourselves. This is a lesson that will never go out of style. Let's start this life-changing trip together on the path of wisdom. The art of setting limits for our emotional responses is an important part of Stoicism that we will talk about next. Stoicism, which is frequently mistaken, is not about hiding our feelings. It's about controlling them. It's not about getting rid of our thoughts, but about knowing and controlling them. We should be able to handle our feelings instead of letting them handle us. Think about the idea of apathy in Stoicism. It's not the same thing as being mentally numb. It means trying to find peace by managing your feelings. Epictetus, a famous Stoic philosopher, said that we should control and limit our mental urges. He taught us that we were in charge of our feelings and not helpless in the face of them. This is where the Stoic practice of negative thinking comes in. This is when we think about problems and losses that might happen, getting our thoughts ready for what might happen. This isn't negativity. It's a plan to protect ourselves from the unexpected things that happen in life. Think of our feelings as colored blocks in a tower. Each block stands for a different feeling, like happiness, sadness, anger, and so on. Stoicism teaches us to mind how high this tower is by having us build it. We understand and accept all of our feelings, but we also set boundaries. For the same reason that a builder knows what height is safe for a tower, we need to figure out how much mental weight we can handle before we fall. The emotional tower is a strong metaphor for how we can find comfort in our feelings and keep them from taking over when life gets tough. There's nothing wrong with having feelings, but it's important not to let them get too big. We are in charge when we set these limits. Our feelings are a part of us, but they don't make us who we are. They're not currents that carry us away. They're waves that wash over us. The Stoics thought that dealing with feelings in a healthy way was like building a stable emotional tower. To get through life's challenges, we need to find a good mix between letting our emotions run wild and keeping them in check. Marcus Aurelius, another great Stoic, said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This quote sums up the essence of Stoic emotional management, realizing that we have the power to control our reactions, set limits, and keep our inner peace even when the outside world is wild. To sum up, Stoicism teaches us how to stable our emotions by building a tower with blocks that represent emotions we recognize and understand. People teach us how to set boundaries, handle our feelings, and keep a calm balance. This practice isn't about separating emotions, but about controlling them well. It's a path to inner peace, where we learn to handle the ups and downs of life with a calm mind and a strong spirit, which is what Stoicism is all about. Learning to separate from those who have wisdom is like steering a ship through a stormy sea in life, especially for guys between the ages of 30 and 65 years old. Because they had a deep understanding of how people work, the Stoics teach us how to keep our inner peace when things around us are chaotic. Starting this journey with a simple but very important step is to temporarily separate yourself from someone who is upsetting your inner peace. Imagine you are going along a road, and the first step is to put some space between you and someone who is interfering with your peace. This isn't about breaking up for good. It's just a planned break, a chance to let your feelings settle and get clear. Seneca, a great figure in Stoic philosophy, writes to Lucilius and suggests that people should often take time to be alone. He says it so well. Join those who lift your spirit and welcome those you can inspire. This isn't just an exchange of presence, it's also an exchange of growth and learning. It's about taking a moment to think about your situation, which is an important step toward knowing yourself. The Stoics' ancient wisdom gives us power by teaching us that we are in charge of how we respond. By taking a step back, we can make choices about how to deal with our situations. This time of being alone is not loneliness. It's a chance to think about your feelings and thoughts. Stoic philosophy says that we should be just as picky about our friends as we are about our partners. Ask yourself if this person makes your life easier or more difficult. Stoics would think this is a smart way to think about your choices, because one of the most important parts of Stoicism is thinking about whether someone makes your life better. Good friends are like the sun for the soul. They help you grow and become more aware. Think about whether the people around you are like rain that grows your inner plant or storms that destroy it. If someone's company is as soothing as the sun, enjoy it. If not, you might want to keep your distance. Remember that this isn't about being uncaring or avoiding difficulties. It's about making decisions that are good for your mind and heart. Another Stoic philosopher, Marcus Aurelius, said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This quote really hits home when you think about the idea of separation. By studying the ideas of Stoicism, we learn that separating from others is not a getaway, but a smart way to keep your peace and inner balance. The wisdom of selecting settings and connections that are good for us and enable us to thrive is reflected in this choice. Stoicism is a way of looking at life and relationships that is based on the idea of improving oneself and, by extension, the community where we live. Using the Stoic wisdom can change your life in a time when relationships and exchanges are often hard and complicated. It tells us to be smart about the groups we join, making sure they fit with our values and are good for us. Detachment isn't just about finding peace for yourself. It's also about making society more peaceful so that everyone can do well by building relationships that are positive and helpful. So, as we go through the ups and downs of life, let us remember what the Stoics taught us and use the wisdom of separation, not as a way to escape, but as a way to grow as people and find inner peace. By doing this, we not only make our own lives better, but we also make the world a better place. Prioritizing one's own wants is an important step in the process of learning to separate from those who have wisdom. Based on the Stoic philosophy, this way of thinking is not selfish. Instead, it's about figuring out and focusing on what's important for our mental and spiritual health. Being self-sufficient and having inner strength are important, and Stoicism tells us to figure out what we can control and what we can't. Epicurus, a scholar who is often linked to Stoicism, also talked about this idea. It is a central idea in both schools of thought. Focusing on parts of our lives that we can change and control, like our mental health and moral ideals, is the key to this step. It's not about getting more stuff, it's about taking care of our inner selves. To build resilience and character, the Stoic practice of willing pain says that people should face difficulties on purpose. These kinds of things teach us how to change, grow, and be happy with virtue and simplicity. We follow the Stoic belief that virtue is the highest good by focusing on our basic wants that help us stay emotionally stable and have good character. Moral virtue is the way to real happiness, according to this philosophy. Epicurus said that we can find happiness and freedom by realizing and accepting the things we can't change. This wisdom is not just abstract, it is also very useful in our everyday lives. Take the story of a sailor who has to cross dangerous seas as an example. When the skipper thinks about the ocean, he focuses on the things he can control, like his skills, the state of his ship, and how he reacts to new situations. He knows that he can't control nature's forces, and that being ready and able to change brings him peace. The way we deal with relationships and personal problems is like this metaphor. We develop a sense of peace and resilience by focusing on our inner strengths and reactions rather than outside forces outside of our control. Next, imagine someone who has a tough job and works with tough people. By following Stoic principles, this person focuses on improving themselves, controlling their emotions, and acting in a responsible way instead of trying to change other people or the work setting. We can achieve a more satisfying work life with inner peace and happiness by following this method. Having the power to choose is an important part of life, especially when it comes to our relationships and situations. Think of life as a huge spread with all the choices you could ever want. To help us make smart choices and focus on what really makes our lives better, Stoicism steps in as a wise guide. This old philosophy tells us to put our mental health and personal growth first, instead of letting temporary wants or superficial appeals affect us. As you go through life's menu, remember to pick what will feed and help you in the long run, just like you would in a restaurant. Stoicism isn't about refusing pleasure, it's about finding greater, more important happiness in the things we do that help us grow and be happy. It teaches us to tell the difference between the short-lived pleasures of shallow pleasures and the deep joy of real contentment. Think of your life as an environment with many roads, friends, adventures, and events. Stoicism doesn't tell us to try to walk every road. Instead, it tells us to pick the ways that will make our trip more meaningful and bring us joy and permanent happiness. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you that matters, but how you react to it." This philosophy tells us that our choices and how we respond to them shape our journey through life. It's important to think about our mental and emotional needs, just like it's important to eat things that are good for our bodies and minds. We also need to choose relationships and situations that are good for our inner selves. Stoicism tells us to pay attention to what we really need, which makes life more satisfying and whole. As we follow this philosophy, we learn to let go of things that don't last and focus on what does. This leads to a life of wisdom and peace. In the end, it's clear what our audience should do. Put your mental and moral health first by focusing on what you can control. Take on difficulties as chances to develop your character and strength. Remember that seeing the boundaries of our power and being happy with our virtues are the keys to real happiness and freedom. Finding peace and resilience in the face of life's ups and downs is possible by following these rules. Stoicism and old Greek philosophy have a lot to teach us about how to pick good friends. This philosophy doesn't support being alone. Instead, it recognizes how important it is to have friends and family to help us through life. We humans are naturally social, and we love having deep conversations. The Stoic method of separation includes asking someone we trust for their wisdom and support, despite our efforts to maintain self-control and inner strength. A famous Stoic philosopher named Seneca talked about how important friendship is to living a good life. He said that a friend is like a mirror. They let us share and think about our feelings and thoughts. This exchange isn't just a way to let off steam, it's also a way to gain new ideas and views. Stoics believe that telling others about our problems is not only beneficial, but also strengthens group ties and helps us grow as people. Talking to someone you know can be very helpful when you're going through a tough time or dealing with a complicated situation. Picture this person as a wise guide or mentor who gives you great advice. Stoicism tells us that we are not alone in the world and that we need help from others to deal with the problems we face. Similar to how superheroes rely on their friends, Stoic thinkers stressed how important it was to talk about our problems with someone we could trust. They saw this as a good way to get through tough times. Choose someone you can trust completely, like a friend, family member, or guide, and think of them as your defender when things get tough. It doesn't matter if you talk to them in person, on the phone, or in a message. Remember that telling other people about your fears isn't a drag. It's a way to share the load and make it lighter. As a real friend, they can give you new ideas or ways to solve problems, guiding you through life's challenges with understanding and wisdom. Stoicism, with its timeless wisdom, gives us a clear view on how to handle our feelings, especially when things are hard. The main idea behind this philosophy is that having a friend by our side can make our trip easier when we face problems. From Greek legend, let's look at the story of Hercules and his friend Iolaus. The Hydra, a monster that seemed unbeatable, was faced by Hercules, who is renowned for his great strength. She had 4 heads, and every time Hercules cut off one, 2 more would grow back. When Hercules cut off the heads, Iolaus thought of putting a bandage around the necks to stop the hair from coming back. This story is a great example of the Stoic principle. Even the strongest people can benefit from the help and creativity of a trusted friend. The stern lesson here is clear. When dealing with the difficulties of life, the wisdom of picking our friends carefully cannot be stressed. These people are more than just friends. They are role models, guides, and supporters on our journey. We lighter our load, learn new things, and improve our ties when we share our problems with them. This practice, which comes from the Stoic philosophy, shows how friendship and mutual support can help you get through hard times. Stoicism says that the ability to separate yourself from other people is like going on a trip through a thick forest. Each road we take shows us a different connection choice. For guys between the ages of 30 and 65, who are often in the middle of personal and work relationships, this idea is very important to understand. Stoicism, a philosophy that has been around for a long time, gives us enormous wisdom when we have to make these decisions. For example, picture yourself in this forest. Each road you see here represents a possible path for your interactions. Choosing to stay away from someone isn't an easy choice. It's like picking one of these routes. Stoicism tells us to carefully consider the pros and cons and make choices based on logic and morals. Being cold or heartless isn't the point of this method. The point is to make choices that are in line with our ideals and our long-term health. It is said by the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This quote really hits home when it comes to letting go. It's important to listen to our inner voice and figure out what our interactions are really like. Are these relationships helping us grow or getting in the way? Detachment isn't a way to escape, but a way to keep our inner peace and keep our attention on what really counts, according to Stoicism. In today's world of constant connection and social responsibilities, the thought of separating from other people may seem scary or even silly. But it's important to remember that Stoic wisdom says distance is not the same as cutting ties quickly or living alone. It's about setting good limits, knowing what those are, and realizing that our mental health is the most important thing. There should be no strong feelings going through our minds when we think about the pros and cons of our interactions. This doesn't mean that feelings are bad. It just means that we shouldn't let them get in the way of our decisions. Stoicism teaches us to be realistic about things and think about what might happen if we make a choice. Like picking a road through the woods, separating ourselves from someone should be a choice that we make after thinking about what might happen. Finally, let's learn something from the Stoics about how to deal with the difficulties of relationships. Let's learn to let go with wisdom, not to avoid pain, but to live a life of peace, purpose, and deep relationships with others. Not only do we honor our own journey, but we also honor the journeys of those around us. We know that letting go is sometimes the most loving thing we can do. This part of Stoicism isn't just a philosophy. It's also a way to live a happy, fulfilling life that focuses on what's important instead of what's not. Imagine living a life where you question everything you own and everything you want. Is this really what I need to be happy? Or is it just a passing whim or a social norm? Simply putting things back to what's important in Stoicism is what simplicity means. It means finding worth in the most basic parts of life instead of constantly seeking pleasures outside of life or collecting things. The way we connect with the world changes when things are simple. It has to do with getting through the noise and picking clarity and speed over complexity that isn't needed. This way of thinking applies to our interactions and the things we do every day, pushing for honesty and authenticity. It's an invitation to give up fake habits and shallow relationships and live a life with real purpose and connection. But don't think this means they are lazy or don't want to do anything. Stoic happiness means actively accepting the way things are now, while also working hard to make things better in the areas we can control. Finding happiness and thanks in the present moment without always wanting more is what it's about. This feeling of being happy is freeing because it lets us focus on what really matters in life instead of being distracted and restless by constant desire. Philosopher Seneca, who was a famous Stoic, once said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." This quote sums up the Stoic practice of contentment. It's not about giving up on future goals, but about finding peace in the present, in what we have now, and in the journey itself. Accepting that life is simple and happy is a strong way to fight the stress and unhappiness that often come with modern life. Being happy with the bare necessities and living a simpler life makes it easier to enjoy life's little pleasures and beauty more. It helps you bond with others more deeply and gives you a peace of mind and happiness that you can't get from just getting more things or events. As you go about your day, ask yourself, am I making things harder than they need to be? Am I going after wants that don't really make me happy? Remember that the Stoics told us that simplicity and happiness are the keys to a happy and strong life. It's about valuing the important things in life, enjoying the here and now, and leading a life of authenticity and meaning. Accept this wisdom and make our lives a path to true happiness and peace. The Stoic philosophy is a deep way to learn how to let go with wisdom. This is especially true for guys between the ages of 30 and 65 who are dealing with the difficulties of life. Following this path means having an honest conversation with someone we trust a lot. This idea has its roots in Stoic beliefs. With their focus on reason and self-control, the Stoics knew the value of an intellectual friend, someone who is not only a friend but also a mirror to our inner world. This person gives us a way to think about our inner worries and thoughts that is both enlightening and reassuring. Seneca, one of the most important figures in Stoicism, talked about how important these kinds of friendships are. He thought that friends should help us see ourselves more clearly by reflecting back what we say. This reflection isn't just about figuring out what we think and feel. It's also about knowing what we do and how we respond. When we talk to each other honestly, we not only heal, but we also learn more about ourselves. It's like looking into a still pond. The image helps us see who we really are, without the waves of everyday life getting in the way. Talking to a trusted friend about our problems isn't just a way to think about ourselves. It's also a way to build community and strength in our relationships. In today's world, where we are constantly linked but often feel alone, these kinds of real relationships are very important. They keep us grounded and tell us that we are all people. Marcus Aurelius, another Stoic philosopher, said, "He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe." To live in harmony with the universe, we must first understand ourselves, and the best way to do this is to look in the mirror and see ourselves as a valued philosophical friend. To live by this Stoic concept every day, especially when it comes to separation, we need to actively seek out and care for these kinds of bonds. It means being open and sensitive, not just when we share our successes, but also when we share our fears and doubts. Being open helps us grow as people and learn how to separate ourselves from things. We gain understanding and can approach our ties with wisdom rather than just response by talking about them and the feelings they trigger. This practice is especially useful for guys between the ages of 30 and 65. Changes are common during this time in life, whether they are in your job, your relationships, or your personal goals. Having a thoughtful friend can help you stay calm as things change. As we aim for success and happiness, it serves as a warning that we must also work on finding inner peace and separating ourselves from the outside world. Finally, having an honest conversation with someone you trust as a Stoic practice isn't just a way to make friends. It's an important step on the path to wisdom and separation. It improves our relationships, enables us to better understand ourselves, and leads us to live in balance with the world around us. We learn that separation is not the same as not caring about anything. It's about facing life's many events with clarity, wisdom, and peace. Marcus Aurelius, a famous Stoic leader, once said something very deep about how important it is to use our time wisely and avoid wasting it on things that cannot help us grow as people. These words of wisdom are especially helpful when we are trying to decide whether to stay close to someone or not. You shouldn't rush into this choice because it requires you to really think about whether this separation will help your mental and personal growth or cause you to lose things that aren't worth losing. Picture yourself with a glass of water in your hand. 1 minute of holding it is easy. An hour of holding it makes your arm hurt. A day of holding it makes your arm feel dead and motionless. The weight of the glass stays the same in all of them, but it gets heavier as you hold on to it longer. Like that glass of water, our exchanges and ties with other people are the same. Short interactions may be fun and easy to handle, but long-term interactions, especially ones that are unpleasant or don't lead to anything, can be heavy and drain our energy and spirit. This story shows us how important it is to know when to let go and drop the glass before it gets too heavy to carry. Let's look at this from a different angle now. Think about a tree in the fall. When the season changes, the tree doesn't hold on to its leaves because it knows that doing so would stop its growth and rebirth. The ease with which they fall makes room for new leaves to grow in the spring. The way things naturally die and grow back is a strong metaphor for our lives. It can be like a tree losing its leaves when you stop being close to certain people. You have to take this step in order to make room for new growth, new connections, and new chances. Understanding that letting go is not a loss, but a normal step toward growth and renewal is important. You have power over your mind, not over outside events. Marcus Aurelius said one time, "Know this, and you will find strength." This quote really fits with what we're talking about. In this case, it tells us that the things and people that happen to us don't give us strength. We do. We are not weak when we choose to separate ourselves from someone. It is a sign of strength and wisdom. Taking this step means we know we can choose what affects our peace and well-being. Detachment isn't just about being physically far away. It's also about having emotional and mental room. Making decisions that are good for our health and growth is what it's all about. Let's remember the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius in the allegories of the glass of water and the tree that sheds its leaves as we work through the difficulties of relationships and exchanges. Accepting distance not as a loss, but as a brave step towards self-care and growth should be our goal. Remember that every time you choose to separate yourself from something, you are taking a step toward fostering your inner peace and your resilience. Stoicism stresses the importance of being fair and objective in our thoughts and decisions, but this is something that is often ignored. Controlling our emotions isn't the only thing this practice does. It also involves a deep look at how we see and understand the world. To see things more objectively, we need to first actively question our beliefs and preconceived ideas. This means having an open mind and being curious about new things and different points of view. It also means not jumping to conclusions quickly because of your feelings or biases. This practice in critical thinking helps us see things as they really are, without our feelings getting in the way. Stoicism, a philosophy that comes from ancient Greece, stresses how important it is to keep your emotions in check. We should not respond right away to things that happen or events that come up. Instead, we should take a moment to breathe slowly and think. This conscious pause gives us time to think about what's going on and react in a more controlled and thoughtful way. Mindfulness and meditation are very helpful in this process because they help you keep your mind clear and calm even when things get tough. Keeping your emotions in check is another important part. Stoicism doesn't teach people to be emotionally detached. Instead, it encourages them to deeply understand how other people feel. But empathy must be paired with logic so that we can help and guide others without getting caught up in their feelings. This method helps us control our feelings while still giving good support. An important quote from the famous Stoic philosopher Seneca says, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without worrying about the future." This quote fits perfectly with the Stoic practice of being fair and objective. Living in the present moment, without prejudices and mental weights that make it hard to make good decisions, is what it tells us. Basically, developing neutrality and perspective isn't just a way to learn to control yourself. It's also a way to learn more about other people and feel more respect for them. By following these rules, we not only make it easier to deal with the ups and downs of life, but we also make our relationships with other people better. As we incorporate old Stoic wisdom into our modern lives, we become more aware, caring, and successful in the way we deal with others. Applying this Stoic way of thinking to our daily lives gives us the strength to separate ourselves from people and situations with wisdom. It also helps us develop a calm mind and a strong spirit, which are very important for guys between the ages of 30 and 65 who are trying to find themselves and grow as people. There is a lot of information coming at us all the time these days, but the old wisdom of Stoicism can help us figure out how to deal with it all. The Stoic philosophy, especially its ideas about detachment, have a lot to do with how we handle our modern lives. This philosophy, which comes from the writings of Seneca and others, stresses how important inner peace is and how dangerous distractions are for living a full life. Seneca's wise comment that we lose our lives, not the other way around, makes a lot of sense in this age of digital excess. Approaching social media with a Stoic mindset is like taking a quiet break from the noise of the digital world. Not that we should avoid technology, but that we should find a balance and make sure that our online activities don't get in the way of our mental peace. Think of social media as a busy, noisy shop. Stoicism tells us to take a break from the digital world every so often, just like people might step away from noise to find peace. Taking a step back is not a sign of weakness. It's a smart move that will help us calm down and get back to what's important. Think of social media as being like a complicated puzzle. It can be mentally exhausting to do it all the time, like trying to put together a huge puzzle without stopping. Stoicism tells us that it's okay to put this puzzle aside for now. These breaks are not failures. They are important breaks that will help us to come back later with a clearer mind and more energy. This is about controlling our interaction with the digital world and picking the right times to work on it and take a break, like picking the right times to do a puzzle and when to take a break. Think about a farmer who loves taking care of his plants, but knows that working non-stop makes him tired and lowers his pleasure. In order to enjoy the beauty of his yard from a distance, he chooses to take regular breaks to rest. This not only makes him feel better, but it also helps him see his work in a new way. In the same way, taking breaks from social media lets us see its worth without becoming obsessed with it. Therefore, Stoicism teaches us how to disconnect from technology, not as a way to escape, but as a method for maintaining mental health. Knowing when our thoughts are getting too full of puzzle pieces and when to take a step back is what it's all about. This philosophy doesn't say that you should stay away from social media completely, but it does say that you should use it in a way that doesn't make your life harder or more complicated. In closing, the Stoic lesson for today's digital world is clear. Be aware when using social media, take breaks often to keep your mind clear, and remember that taking a step back is a powerful way to keep our lives in balance. This method not only makes digital platforms more fun, but it also makes sure that the things we do online are in line with our goals for a peaceful and satisfying life. The careful consideration of the potential repercussions of such a separation is an essential part of the Stoic path to learning to separate from those who have wisdom. Stoics are known for having the ability to see into the future and think about how their actions will affect people in the future while still focusing on the present. Stoic wisdom is characterized by being aware of both the present moment and what might happen in the future. Imagine a tree that has deep roots in the ground but lets its branches move easily in the wind. The Stoic way of thinking about ties and separation is shown by this tree. The tree stays put, and so do Stoics, who stick to their core morals and beliefs. But they also know that life is like the wind. It's always changing, and they need to be able to adapt. In this way, the comparison helps us understand the Stoic practice of separation. It's not about cutting ties in a cold or uncaring way. It's about knowing that relationships are temporary and being ready for life's ups and downs. During this step, Stoics tell us to think about what will happen if we break up with someone. This is not an easy choice to make because everything we do has consequences. We can make choices that are in line with our inner philosophy by foreseeing both the possible results, both good and bad. This kind of insight isn't about being able to say for sure what will happen in the future. It's about getting ready for all the possible outcomes, which is a Stoic trait of resilience. Think about the story of a sailor who is trying to find his way on the seas. Like a Stoic, the skipper knows that he can't change the wind, but he can change the sails. When it comes to partnerships, sometimes changing our sails means putting some space between us for our own health and growth. When we step back, we should do so with care and wisdom, thinking about not only our own thoughts, but also how this will affect other people. As we start down this road of separation, it's important to remember that Stoicism doesn't encourage hiding our feelings. It instead teaches us to fully feel our feelings without letting them take over. Finding the right mix between passion and logic is important to make sure that our feelings don't get in the way of our decisions. Finally, the Stoic practice of separation is a method that is carefully thought out. It means realizing that relationships are temporary, thinking about what will happen if we do something, and keeping your emotions and your logic in check. People who use this wisdom in their daily lives develop Stoic resilience, which helps them handle the difficulties of human interactions with calm and grace. This way of thinking not only helps us grow as people, but it also improves how we connect with others, making our journey through life more important and peaceful. Once we learn how to separate ourselves from people and situations that aren't good for us, Stoicism becomes a leading light that gives us deep wisdom and useful tips. Even though this path is hard, it is made up of intentional steps that help us learn more about ourselves and our relationships. Reflective breaks are part of the first step. These are times when we think about our relationships and why we need to separate ourselves. Instead of making snap choices, we need to understand where our ties come from and how they affect our lives. This process of reflection is like a farmer carefully looking at the plants in his yard to see which ones are feeding the dirt and which ones are killing it. Next, we look at the reasons for distance from each other logically. Here is where we use our minds instead of our feelings and analyze our relationships and situations with the clarity of a philosophy. What good does this connection do for my life? Does it fit with my most important ideals and beliefs? This step is very important to make sure that our choice to separate is not a quick emotional response, but a well thought out one. The next step on our journey is to have honest conversations. In any relationship, talking to each other is very important, and we should be kind and clear about how we feel and what our limits are. This doesn't mean a fight, but rather an open and polite discussion of feelings and thoughts. It's about making connections, even though we all go our own ways. Setting mental limits is one of the hardest but most important things to do. It means knowing our limits and letting other people know what they are. This isn't about putting up walls. It's about making a healthy place for ourselves, where our mental health isn't always dependent on what other people do or say. Thinking about how our deeds affect other people shows that we are responsible to ourselves and to others. It is important to think carefully and with respect about every choice we make and every limit we set. In this step, we make sure that our path to detachment isn't just about protecting ourselves, but also about being kind and understanding. It is very important to spend less time on outward distractions, especially in this digital age. For example, social media can often make our worries and bonds stronger. We make time for deeper conversations and self-reflection when we limit our exposure to these distractions. The last step in this journey is to put our basic wants first. It has to do with figuring out what really feeds our mind and spirit, whether it's love, growth, peace, or respect. In order to live a life that is in line with what really counts, we need to understand and prioritize these needs. By doing these things, our actions will be in line with the virtue principles of the Stoics, and we will be able to handle our relationships and situations with wisdom and clarity. Stoicism tells us that detachment is not the same as not caring about anything. Rather, it's about finding peace and resilience in the middle of life's difficulties. It's about living in the present without worrying about the future or feeling bad about things that happened in the past. Seneca said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without worrying about the future." This old wisdom is surprisingly important to our lives today. Not only does it help you detach with wisdom, but it also shows you how to live a happier, healthier life. Let's take these lessons to heart and use them in the many situations we face every day as we continue on this road. Also, keep in mind that every step you take in this world of wisdom is a step toward a life of virtue, wisdom, and mental peace. Epictetus, a famous Stoic philosopher, gave deep wisdom on life. The key is to only be with people who make you feel good. Their presence makes your best great. Epictetus's words have been heard for thousands of years and are still relevant today. They tell us to make a choice, to connect with people who make us feel good and feed our minds. Here, it means we need to be careful to find and keep important relationships in our lives. But even in healthy relationships, there are always people who get in the way of our growth. Someone once said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." This may sound like a good thing, but if we look a little deeper, it has a bad message that should wake us all up. You feel bad when other people put you down, and they will leave you for someone else if you don't help them reach their own selfish goals. No, we will look at this saying's deeper meaning together through the lens of Stoic philosophy. We will learn about the 7 types of people who can get in the way of our growth in Stoic philosophy and how to deal with these difficult situations. The first type of person is the doubter. Stoic philosophy always stresses being clear-headed in how you think and talk. But in our daily lives, we often run into resistance, people who always make us think differently and make things harder. Stoic thinkers, such as Epictetus, gave us ideas and rules that can help us handle these kinds of scenarios. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." The phrase 2 ears and 1 mouth refers to a basic rule. We should listen to others and understand them more than we talk all the time. This deep comment shows how important it is to listen when communicating. Listening is a key part of good communication because it helps us understand others better and form stronger bonds with them. Stoic philosophy also stresses the importance of a pauses in conversation. To deal with them effectively, we must be patient and able to control our feelings, or else we should stay away from them. If you are a scientist, you are probably in your lab, where you have spent hours studying and doing tests. The area where you work is full of graphs, numbers, and study papers. You are proud of the things you have found and can't wait to tell everyone about them. But a tough co-worker shows up. When they get to your study, they look at your charts and data and say, "I don't know why you think this data means anything. It looks like you wasted your time," they say. This criticism hits you like a wall and takes away the thrill and faith you had in your study. Instead of adding something useful, it casts a cloud of question and criticism over the whole thing. Their doubt starts to shake your faith, making it hard to see clearly. What do you do when someone is against you, especially if they are close to you? The first method is the old-fashioned way of doing things. You can talk to them and ask for their help. When they are in the advisory role, they often act less hostile, feel more respected, and talk about things in a more positive way. It can also lead to feedback that is better for you. This makes conversation a lot better in a lot of important ways. Positive conflict is the second way to do things. Instead of letting them vent their anger, try to get them to think about how to solve the problem. If they say your data doesn't mean anything, ask them, "What do you mean by useful research data?" This not only keeps you from being negative when it's not necessary, but it also sets the stage for a more positive talk. Last, be ready to listen. But keep in mind that hearing doesn't mean taking in all the bad things. Figuring out what information is important and staying away from outside distractions is what it means. When your poser is around, take a step back, listen, and think. Then keep painting your life with the colors you love. Also, don't let anyone turn your bright picture into a dark, boring one. The second type of person is the poison optimist. Enjoying the present is the key to true happiness, Seneca said. He meant to stress how important it is to live in the present and not worry too much about the future. Not everyone knows this, and if it's used wrong, it can make you have a bad mind. Life is full of problems, and some of them can break our minds and bodies. At the same time, there are always people who are positive and cheerful even when things aren't going well. You're wrong to think that these people are always happy and ready to deal with problems. This is the second group of people you should stay away from. Just be happy is their attitude, and they don't show how they feel, so stay away from them. Think about how you would feel if you were going through a tough breakup and needed to find mental balance. Your life is like a garden, and you have the power to make it colorful. However, you can't stop the tracks of bad people who want to get into this beautiful yard. People who are worried about how you feel ask for your help. True friends will give you honest advice. People who believe in toxic optimism will tell you to smile and be happy, because there are lots of them. That being said, understanding and sharing your sadness. Too much positivity doesn't take into account how complicated feelings are and how hard things can be in life. This situation makes you think of your beautiful yard when one of the tree leaves gets sick and starts to die. Someone who is a harmful optimist will purposely look away from your trouble and at the flowers instead. They're distracting you from reality and making you forget about the problems you face in life. So, if you want to take care of your yard and keep negative optimists out of it, you must first be able to recognize and tell the difference between a lot of different feelings, both good and bad. Emotional intelligence is the name for this. If you have toxic optimism, you think you should just be happy. You should instead be aware of and in charge of your range of feelings. Negative thoughts that are harmful say, "Don't worry about this mistake. You did a great job." You need to look at the problem from both sides and admit that you need to do better on your work, even though you put a lot of effort into it. "My work isn't done yet, which makes me sad, but I'll try to do better tomorrow." Second, Have a talk with them and recognize both the good and bad parts of the situation. I believe that everyone can feel both good and bad feelings at the same time. We should learn how to deal with things and find lessons in everything we do. Finally, remember that a healthy garden needs both sun and rain to grow when toxic positive shows up in it. Give the garden the fullness and depth it deserves by letting all of your feelings keep feeding it. Number 3. People who always have something bad to say. You know, Seneca said, "It is not because things are hard that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are hard." He meant that life doesn't always give us problems and issues. It's how we deal with them that does. People who complain a lot tend to focus on the bad things in life instead of being patient and positive. We have to always listen to what a friend, family member, or co-worker has to say. They always have something negative to say about everything in their lives, including the weather, their jobs, their surroundings, and even their own lives. They never miss a chance to say how unhappy they are. But what's worse is that they tell everyone else about these bad thoughts, which makes the other person sad and down. These people can make those around them feel bad and stressed, and you are one of them. When people complain a lot, they tend to make the surroundings bad. When we talk to them often, it can make us feel bad. They focus on the bad things in life a lot, which makes us less hopeful and less happy with our daily lives. Being around people who complain a lot can hurt our relationships with other people. People may not want to be around us if they think we just sit there and listen to their problems. This can make you feel socially distant and hurt your relationships with the people around you. To keep our lives happy and healthy, we need to tell them apart and be kind when we talk to them, making sure we don't lose our happiness and mental health in the process. Imagine that you want to get together with some people at your house for a get-together. You ask your close friends to come, including Jane, who you love very much. But while everyone else is having a great time at the party, Jane can't stop talking about how hard things are at her job. Not only do her comments ruin the mood, but they also make everyone else feel very stressed. In order to ease the stress, they try to change the subject of talk. In the end, you and your friends think that the get-together with Jane was a waste of time and made you feel bad. You wonder if being in touch with Jane all the time is making you and everyone else feel down. Focusing on workable answers rather than focusing on problems is a valuable lesson that Stoicism, an ancient philosophy, has taught us. Here are 3 things you can do to deal with people who are complaining. The first step is to break mental space. When people are complaining, try to put some space between yourself and them. Think of your complaints as brief showers that will pass quickly and bring you inner peace. It's true that comments can be annoying and have an effect, but nothing can beat the peace and patience that you feel inside. The second plan is to reduce your exposure. If you can, try to spend less time with them. It might not always be easy, especially if they are family or co-workers, but think of other ways to put some space between you. The third plan is to guide the talk. Try to be smart about how you lead the talk and change the subject when you need to for a better discussion. If someone starts to complain, you can try asking them a question or suggesting a different topic to take their mind off of it. For example, you could ask them about their hobbies, plans for the future, or recent good experiences. Classical Stoicism not only tells us to protect our minds, it stresses it very strongly. It's a strong defense against pessimism, especially from people who complain a lot. Its job is to make sure that complaints don't lead us astray, but also don't stop us from following the calm road of virtue and patience. In a world full of whiners, Stoicism gives us strong tools to focus on what really matters: inner peace and growth as people. The fourth type of person is the manipulator. Thank you for making it this far. You've been with me on a trip that's longer than halfway. Now stop and pay attention. We will finish this trip together. Epicurus said that you are hurt as soon as you realize you are, and that no one else can hurt you unless you let them. He thought that people could only hurt us if we let them, and that our own decision was very important in deciding whether we would be hurt or not. We've all met manipulators in our lives, people who try to change our minds and feelings over and over again, throwing us off track from our original plans and goals. They are also very good at controlling other people's thoughts and feelings. Dishonesty and lack of truthfulness are common traits in these people, which we should avoid. In order to get what they want, they may also lie and be sneaky without thinking about how their actions might hurt other people. Surely, everyone has been through a similar situation. People you know will try to get you to buy them dinner when you see them, because it's a small favor to help a friend who is in need. You feel good about yourself when you agree and give them money, but after giving it some thought, you come to the realization that you were a victim of their deceitful manipulation. They said it was a nice thing to do for a friend, but they were really taking advantage of your kindness to get what they wanted. Their manipulation of your feelings and lies irritate and anger you. This is one way that someone who is manipulative can use someone else's kindness to get what they want. To protect yourself and keep healthy relationships, you need to be able to turn down manipulators. You have to figure out how to get through an emotional maze when dealing with people who are trying to trick you into doing things you don't want to do, like lending them money. It's important to say no. Be strong in what you say and stick to your choice. Stoicism can help you avoid getting sucked into the maze of manipulation. The first way is to set clear limits and stick to them. You will be able to keep a healthy, respectful relationship setting where people can talk to each other without stress or pressure. One more method you can use is what some experts call fogging. In this way, you can keep your emotions in check while still believing what they say. It also keeps you from being easily tricked and guards your freedom to choose for yourself. Someone manipulative might say, "I think you should pay for this meal because you're so successful." You could say, "You're right, I am very successful, but let's split the bill like we always do." This way, you acknowledge that you have been successful, but you don't give up control of your choice. Using the foggy mirror method can help you stay strong and not let your feelings affect your choices. We can stay calm and choose to live by our values and beliefs by following the ideas of Stoic philosophy, especially what Epicurus teaches. If we want to live a happy and worthwhile life, we need to know how to spot and avoid manipulators. Don't forget that we always have options and can pick our own road. You have the pen in your hand, and your story is about you. Don't let anyone change the plot of your story. Trust it. The fifth type of person is the time vampire. Epicurus, a famous Stoic philosopher, said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of things." This quote shows how important it is to control our minds and pick how to respond to bad things that waste our time. Think of your daily life as a well-balanced symphony, with each instrument representing a responsibility or job. When played together, they sound great together and make a well-balanced and beautiful symphony. The time vampire, on the other hand, is an annoying element that sometimes joins in the wrong place and stops your music. This invader might seem harmless, like a coworker who keeps asking you pointless questions or a friend who keeps inviting you to events you don't want to go to. How can you keep a time vampire from destroying your symphony? The Pomodoro technique is a good way to handle your time because it involves short breaks between work sessions that last 25 minutes on average. During these times, you make it clear that you don't want to be interrupted, which protects your most productive times. If you're talked to by a time vampire, know that it's okay to say no, and even important for your health. It's not a refusal of the person if you say no to an offer, it's a statement of your wants and goals. Sixth type of person, the victim. Marcus Aurelius said that the best way to get back at someone who hurt you is to become different from them. This sentence brings up the difference in how we deal with harm from a moral point of view. We can show strength and build a good reputation by not letting the crime make us feel bad. Victims often put the blame on other people or things instead of owning up to their mistakes. They always think that someone or something outside of them is working against them or has planned to do so. Everyone is the main character in their own story, and anyone who thinks they are a victim is stuck in that part and can't change it. For example, Maria is someone who always sees themselves as being wronged. Maria deeply loves art and has always hoped to become a great painter. Mary has been complaining for a long time that she can't continue her art job because she doesn't have the right conditions. She often says, "I can't be successful because I don't have the money to study art professionally, and because there is no place that encourages my creativity." In this case, Mary has become a victim because she always uses her personal problems as an excuse to avoid taking responsibility for her actions. She puts up a mental wall by thinking that she can't be successful, instead of finding ways to use her skills and chances. You've probably dealt with a lot of situations like Mary's, and you end up becoming a supporting figure who is always willing to help and listen. It takes a lot of time and makes you more likely to see yourself as a victim when you listen to other people. How should you deal with someone who always thinks they're being harmed? Stoic thinkers offer some useful points of view to think about. Start by setting clear limits. Stoic philosophy tells us to set clear boundaries between ourselves and others so that we can show care for the victim while not saving them from self-directed situations. Second, really listen. Instead of telling them how to solve their problems right away, listen, share, and support them as they go. Keep in mind that we won't answer all of their problems because that would take away their freedom to choose and be independent. Especially when we are going through hard or sad things, we often get caught up in the story. The Stoic philosophy tells us to keep our cool, not let our bad feelings get the best of us, and not copy the victim. Keep in mind that our ability to control our feelings and our mind is what gives us strength. You are much stronger than you thought, so always have faith in your skills. This will help you get through everything and make you stronger and more independent. Number 7. People who like to cause trouble. Let's talk about the last kind of person, the one who always makes trouble. Someone named Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be like the one who caused the injury." This quote means that we shouldn't copy or take part in the dramatic actions of people who hurt us. We need to stay calm and in control of our emotions instead to escape drama that isn't necessary. Having to deal with drama and meeting new people is harder when chaos comes to you and you get involved in fights that don't have anything to do with you. Picture yourself as a worker on a company team. One of the people on the team, John, likes to make things tense and dramatic. Once again, John is having a hard time and looks very stressed. When things like this happened to John before, you tried to help, but it usually made things worse. That being said, you choose to use a limited non-interference approach this time. You decide to really focus on your work and turn off all of your phone's alerts so you can focus on it. John has a problem and comes to you for help. You shouldn't accept or try to fix John's problem right away. Instead, tell him, "Sorry, I'm very busy with an important task right now. Can we talk about your problem after I finish my work?" This way, you won't get caught up in John's drama right away and can stay focused on your work. Once you're done with your work, you can figure out how to help John without making things more difficult than they need to be. Using the above example, Stoic philosophy has given us some ways to stay away from people who are likely to cause trouble. The first plan is to listen and think about what you hear. We should pay close attention to what other people say and not judge them too quickly or too harshly. We should instead try to understand and relate to them, which will help us get through tough times. If the second becomes unclear, it means that we shouldn't be ready to fight or argue right away. Instead, we should wait and think about it first. I choose to be involved in everything, and I also have tips for that. You might want to turn off your phone at set times, or set aside time to focus on work or personal growth. Let people know that you don't want to be bothered during these times. This point of view can help you deal with people who like to cause trouble. Do not worry about the next disaster. Instead, concentrate on the here and now, where you are in charge. Feel free to enjoy your life without letting other people's problems get in the way. On your way to peace and personal growth, keep your ship calm and away from the dangerous whirlpools. Finally, let's remember that Stoicism has taught us a lot about the 7 types of people we should stay away from. You should learn to stay calm when life throws you problems. The bad people around you shouldn't have an effect on your soul. Stoic philosophy says that we should stay away from these 7 types of people in order to keep our minds safe and our spirits calm and positive. People who are unhappy around you can affect your life, but you can control your own behavior and be patient. As we draw this exploration of Stoic principles to a close, remember that the journey towards a more fulfilling life doesn't end here. The path of Stoicism is one of continuous growth and learning, a lifelong commitment to turning philosophy into action. It's about making the choice, every day, to live with purpose, resilience, and joy, regardless of what life throws your way. The principles we've revisited, the habits we've encouraged you to form, are tools not just for today, but for a lifetime. As you incorporate these teachings into your daily life, you'll find that what once required conscious effort becomes instinctual. This transformation is the true power of Stoicism. It changes not only how we face challenges, but also how we appreciate the beauty of the mundane, the quiet moments, and the connections we share with others. If you've felt a spark of inspiration, a desire to dive deeper into the Stoic way of living, let this be just the beginning. Continue to seek out wisdom, to reflect, and to apply these timeless lessons to your life. And most importantly, share this journey with others. The ripple effect of your transformation can inspire those around you to embark on their own path of self-discovery and fulfillment. Thank you for taking this step with us. Remember, the most profound changes often start with a single step, a single decision to live differently. As you move forward, carry the Stoic principles with you, not as mere ideas, but as a way of life. Here's to your journey towards a more meaningful, Stoic-inspired life, a life truly lived to the fullest.